going to get side by side again. Last time it didn't quite work. Can he make it stick this time? He's not fully passed, but he held on as they swing back in. A little bit of car contact between them. That sends him out. Topi's going to pounce on it. He's going to try and take that second place back as it goes through Brooklyn's tires spinning up as Simone is not willing to give way. He's got the inside back and through, more side-to-side contact between he and his rival. Somehow they come out the other side, but it's still not done, DJ. It's down to cops they go.
Oh, it's really close. Here we go. It's Discolindo. He tries to make the move on U-Bluth as they send Hideki Koivisto flying.
Koivisto manages not to hit the wall. I think he's going to be okay, but he's not going to be happy about that.
Discolindo, he's going for a braking move on Fabian U-Bluth. He's going to send it deep into turn 7. He's going to be on the inside as they head around the corner. He should have the position, but U-Bluth holds out. They're going to go side by side as they go into the S's.
Oh, can he get this done finally? Chucks it in, but he goes a little too deep. Coming back at him. Here comes Jungbluth trying to take this fourth away. Again, this will tie the points lead. If Aitor can get past him, they're going to run together. Little bit of contact, splitting either side of Marco Lay. Who's going to win the battle down to the braking of the hairpin?
Well, and let's take a look at that. That may have been a mistake there from Jeff Schmeier going for the move. How he kept that out of the side of the number 220 is beyond belief, but amazing car control there from the number 30.
Not close enough to Timo for this lap by. Oh, but look into the first corner. That's for the lead. Kortaniemi on the attack on Partanen, but he's going to be vulnerable as Simone sees the chance. Now that he's slow off the corner, swings around him, and he is through down into Maggots and Beckett's.
And this is where things get extremely complicated. He's going to try and go on the outside, gets pushed out wide into the grass, loses it, and now we're all along for the ride.
Whoa! I know there's a rallycross course here, but this car's not made for that. And he got air, all four wheels off the ground, still kept it out of the barrier and brought it back. That's going to likely cause a little damage to the car regardless, but great heads up by the 16.
He's going to have to go the long way around the left-handed sweeper here. Is he going to be ahead by the time they get into the braking zone? Are we going to see side-by-side for 2 successive laps going through Moss? Little bit of maybe contact there for Ozowski, bumping and banging and bumping as they exit the corner.
Luis Nunez tries to cover it off, then it's going to try and pinch as they go towards turn 1, but he'll get just about what he needs. Oh, he has a big moment in the middle, and up and under, Jukka Tolonen, experience prevailing.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings, where they got into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Of all the racetracks from the early years of NASCAR, many have evolved their own distinct personality and flavor of racing, but none more so than Martinsville Speedway. Nicknamed the Paperclip because of its distinctive shape, it forces anyone who tackles it to adapt to its own style of racing or else suffer the consequences. Let's see who learns to dance and who winds up stepping on toes as we get ready to watch the Virginia is for Lovers 300, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. If you've never seen a race at Martinsville before, you're in for a treat. Let's head to our track guide to get a closer look.
Welcome to a piece of racing history. The Martinsville Speedway in South Central Virginia opened before NASCAR was even founded, and it is one of the sport's original tracks. Its paperclip shaped half mile has grown from a dusty pioneer to a beautiful racing facility. Going off of the paperclip nickname, Martinsville is two 12-degree banked corners attached to two 800-foot-long straights. Getting out of these corners is all about managing the rear tires sliding around. It often feels like you're coming out of a valley as you head on to the straights. Martinsville is very much a rhythm-based racetrack though, some even referring to it as a rocking chair. You get that sensation because you want to feel the front of the car slam down under braking and then lift back up under acceleration. Making things even more complicated is the fact that the track is only 55 feet wide. Down in the corners, you'll find that yellow curve. It's elevated off the track by several feet, and if you catch it with those left side tires, you're bound to grab a handful of steering wheel. All of the action isn't on the track, however. The pit road that starts in the entry to turn 3 and exits out of turn 2 is only 46 feet wide itself, making pit road under caution look like a circus. Martinsville is not a track that you can rest on your laurels at. Always on top of the wheel is the name of the game. The drivers that do that best find themselves with a grandfather clock trophy. The fans come from all over, the drivers come from all over, even internationally, to race at the hallowed grounds. So settle in, buckle up, it's bound to be a great race.
Well, Christian, this place usually puts on plenty of drama. I wonder if we're going to be seeing that today out here for our 200-lap feature.
Yeah, I definitely think we will. We obviously don't have a massive field. We've only got 13 cars, but still, it is always good racing around Martinsville, and it's a very, very interesting track. It's actually kind of like a very, very small road course. Fortunately, both sort of the entry of 1 and the entry of 3 actually drive very, very similar. So you are really only learning one corner here. The big thing is making sure that you can actually rotate through the center of the corner. And with these cars, where they're fairly low power, you don't have to worry about drive off as much as you do in, say, the old Gen 6 car, where that was kind of a bit of a trade-off. But 12 degrees of banking in the corners. It's very much low line dominated. We're going to see a lot of cars trying to get to the bottom immediately on the restarts. And I think that can create some chaos for us as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain we'll get at least a little of that Martinsville craziness. But as we take a look at the championships, starting off with the pro drivers standings, it is still Dallas Pataska up at the top of things, ahead of Sean Campbell and Ross Banfield, both in the hunt here, but we're getting down towards the end of the season. Sean's got to make up some ground, and Ross definitely has to really start to make some big chunks out of Dallas Pataska. Trevor Vovrosky and Milnerowicz is currently in a very close fight for the spot just outside of the podium as well. You can see between 6th, 7th, and 8th, there's a scant 34 points between all of them. So still plenty to fight for here in the pro drivers, but they also have the sportsmen that we don't get to see as often here in these pro splits, but just as important to them, they're happening simultaneously down in the sportsman race currently. Boomsma currently leading Holmer by about 98 points right now. And then it is very tight for that second spot. Wegert might be able to get in there as the Bright Esports duo will try to sort that one out. Now, as you take a look farther down, it starts to spread out a little bit, including once you get that jump up to Sam Swallow. But, man, he's still got a couple drivers within 100 points of him as well. Brody and Olsen only split by 3 to try to decide 9th currently. From there, it is the legends. These are the drivers 55 and over competing. 5 drivers in this Euro Legends standings that you can see. David Baker currently leading Mark Redford by a massive, massive gap. It is all done bar the shouting. In fact, I think this late in the season, that might actually be job done, especially once this race is over. From there, they have the Legends Sportsman. Same deal, just with lower I rating for these drivers, and Heckenschott is in a much, much closer fight there with Jan Brony for those to try and get that sorted. Michael Hagstrom trying to play catch-up in the late stages of this championship, and is going to have to really have some great results and hope for some bad results for those top two to have a shot at the crown for the Legend Sports champion. From there, we have the two different team championships. Christian, how are we sitting on those?
Well, Pro Team has kind of changed around a little bit over the course of the season. It almost looked like it was going to be another Grizzly or even an Apex Tech Racing Pro kind of domination at the very beginning, but it's really changed around. Satellite Racing has now actually taken the lead, and it's quite commanding lead. 294 points at this point in the season. It's going to be hard to overhaul that, especially when you've got Pataska out there who's looking like he's on course to possibly pick up another win today. So I don't think this is over here, but, it's a very, very one-sided fight now, I would say. And then back in third spot, the other Grizzly TFR Daytona team, that's now out of the championship hunt. They're over 1,000 points off the lead, and they've got about 400 back to Apex Tech Racing Pro. So I think that's kind of done and dusted. And then Team Mad versus UDox Oliver, that's kind of the tightest fight remaining, really, for that last fifth spot in the Pro Team standings. But we also have Sport Team standings. In Bright Esports, it's a much closer fight there, 145 versus NRG Racing ES. And it's a two-horse race there. HW Racing way far back, over 2,000 points off the lead with a 400-point buffer to Grizzly TFR Spa. They're pretty locked into that third spot at this point in the season. And to be honest, Grizzly TFR Spa, they're probably locked into that fourth as well with that 300-point advantage they have over Hanson Brothers Racing back there in fifth. But it is another tight fight for that fifth spot. Black Tree Race Crew there within 20 to 30 points there of Hanson Brothers Racing for that fifth spot.
As for the race, we actually got a couple of them in store for you. It's not just the 200-lap feature that will be. We've got two heats that will run here at 25 laps each. They're going to be qualifying for them just right now as we speak. But then from there, those heats will determine the starting grid for that 200-lap race. We are in the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS, the old K&N car out here, and it is open setup. So hopefully you've got it nice and comfortable for the long term, especially if we do manage to get long runs with a bit of a smaller field. 26 incident limits is going to be a big problem if there is a lot of beating and banging. But with more space on the track, maybe we will see fewer drivers that will get disqualified by that. They have a spare car. That will come in handy, no doubt. I'm sure at least somebody will wind up destroying their car today and will need to come in and take that because Martinsville is known for eating up machinery out there. As the first of the times on the board of our 13 competitors, David Baker looking pretty darn quick in that 33, has just about 200ths over Mark Stevenson, and then ups it to about 1800ths now. So Stevenson is on his second lap, but it looks like he is going a little bit wide into turn 3, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to do much to take that fastest qualifying time away.
Yeah, you kind of do want to use that first lap. That first lap is typically the best of the four, so to speak, and certainly the first two laps are better than the remaining two. So I think we'll see a couple of drivers kind of pulling the car up and going for a secondary attempt. But there's a really nice time there by David Baker. I was expecting that we're going to see kind of the fastest times in the ones, so to be into the 20.2s and solidly into the lower part of that is a really good performance. And he's ahead of Stevenson, who we know is very, very good in qualifying usually.
Absolutely, making his return once again. We might get a chance to chat with him during any of the cautions here, as he's going to be an in-race reporter for us today in that number 51. And for these 4 laps, a 20.1 is quicker, and that's going to be up to the pole for Mark Stevenson. All right, well, that changes the face of things just a bit there. We're still waiting on Vrosky, Pataska, and Dreiling to set times. Tom actually in the 11 just put one down, but only goes to 11th appropriately. Also,
Pataska
these cars
with the 20.0 there.
And that's going to take top spot away from Stevenson as well. Vrosky's first lap deleted, must have brushed the wall in that number 10. So he brings it around. Is this going to be a clean one and actually finally get a time on the board? Yes, a 20.2, which is not super fast, but good enough for 4th place in the qualifying. That'll at least get him a little bit higher up there. I was about to say that these are, of course, the late models now, as the ever-evolving designation of the various stock cars changes with the updates as NASCAR brings in new models and things get shuffled around. So the names always having to be adapted here, and who winds up where, as we take a look at Bronstrom coming around and taking another lap. It looks like that may have been an out lap for him in that 71. I do like that he's got the whole Polsky thing, because if there's one thing that that NASCAR is definitely brought out in terms of popular celebrations on the ovals, it's the Polish victory lap.
Yeah, it is pretty cool to see. And it's actually cool to see Linus actually back racing. It's been a while since I've personally seen him on track, and I remember racing with him, 3-4 years ago in NIS, so it's cool to see a familiar name out there.
Indeed, and obviously this being the European region for the majors, that's why we're seeing not quite as big of a field here for short track racing late in the season, but I have seen plenty of those across the pond, you yourself included, that have taken quite a liking to this style of racing. It looks like the qualifying is done. And so we are going to head off into our grid in a second once we get to that first heat of the evening. We'll see if we actually get 2 heats, because we're unsure with 12 advancing if we'll have 2 heats or if they're going to combine them into one this first session. And if so, that'll obviously speed things up a little bit, and it'll just be finishing order from the first heat that advances on into the main. And it does look like they're going to split them into heats. Okay, so first race of the day is going to be Dallas Pataska on the pole. It'll be David Baker in second, with Trevor Vavrovsky starting from third. David Melnarowicz will be P4 as Cordell Cologne starts in fifth. After that, Jan Dirks sixth, and Ryan Walker in the 7th position. 25 laps go by quick here, Christian. So, I mean, we don't have a lot of cars out there, but how do you take something so short?
To be honest, it's kind of a little bit of an adjustment, because the car in long run pace for 200, you kind of really do want to make sure that it's not going to fall off, whereas in the 25 it's very much skewed towards what you would run in qualifying. So you probably see people run a little bit looser. You don't have to worry about the drop off too much, and to be honest, the drop off in pace with these cars is just not that much, really. You think you start out maybe an optimal of about a 20.2, 20.3, and you'll only really fall to a 20.7, 20.8 after 25 laps. So not a lot of fall off to deal with. It will push you to go a little bit more aggressive on the setup, and I think as a possibility you might see a couple of cars a bit more on edge at the end of this 25 than you will at the end of the 200 lap main. And it's interesting that it has actually split into heats. So this race is essentially for qualifying of the inside line, and the second heat will be the outside line. So it is now worth something. I really thought it was just going to go to one heat and we would kind of have a little bit of a test run, so to speak.
Absolutely. And yeah, that inside versus outside probably going to play a part there on the restarts too. We'll talk about that a lot, I am sure, as they get ready to go. Now they'll have 2 pace laps since it is under a mile circuit here, and the iRacing sedan will take them around. And one of the newer features on iRacing as well, it's going to be, I guess, a talking point, Christian, is they now have official restart zones.
Yeah, so the first time round, it's going green from the flagman, so the leader has no control over that. You just have to wait. It can either kind of advantage or disadvantage the outside car. Obviously, it gives them a better chance to kind of hang out there. So if they actually get a good run through 1 and 2, they can maybe make some moves. The bad part of that is when you didn't have the restart zone, you used to actually be able to kind of get in easily behind the leader, because if you just got a better jump than third, it was obviously quite easy to sneak in behind. So now you don't really have that, and obviously on subsequent restarts, the leader has to wait all the way until he's in the box. Everyone's basically on the front stretch.
That'll make things nicer, hopefully, as the green flag is out quite early. Ooh, and a bad jump for Pataska. Will Baker be able to take him from the outside here? He's going to push it as hard as he can, but he starts to lose out in the marbles, and he falls backwards. The 23 has him covered off for now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. So Baker actually got a better getaway, wasn't able to do anything with it, and fortunately for himself, was able to get down with Bobrovsky himself not getting a great restart.
So they come down into turn one for the first time fully in anchor. The 23 is now your leader. Baker in second, Bobrovsky in third. Bit of a pass down for fifth place as it looks like Cologne is going to be able to get inside of Dirks. That's going to be top 5 for him now. Walker still watching from the back in the number 4.
Yeah, and a bit surprised with Walker. We've obviously seen he's got good pace in the past in these kind of stock car vehicles, and obviously good pace in the majors as a whole. So to see him all the way in the back, qualifying time, 4/10 off the pole, just looks like he's hanging out at the moment. I wonder if he's kind of just uncomfortable with it, and we'll see him move forwards as the day goes on.
If I know Ryan, yeah, he's just kind of probably biding his time, letting the race come to him. He's a very smart driver, that's for sure. And probably willing to know that, this doesn't count for anything other than your start position, and it's going to be a long race. So at this point, he just kind of has to wait to see where his opportunities will come.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody now down single file. Nobody really looking like they're going to make any moves at this point. The 10 has fallen away from Baker. Baker's looking like he's got really good pace today. Obviously, we already talked about his qualifying was quite promising, but race pace, he's not right on Pataska's bumper, but he's not being dropped.
Yeah, I wonder if this does serve as a test run for figuring out what you've got. It's such a short race. It won't really tell you much unless we have a lot of cautions in that feature, I would think, Christian.
Yeah, absolutely, really. The one nice thing for these guys with the heat is that it does give them a feel for the race start and subsequent restarts and whatnot if they haven't ran any of the the practice races throughout the week. In a less critical environment, I would say. There is cautions in the heats, but I don't think we're going to see one.
Yeah, I'm not anticipating them, but I'm not going to put the commentator's curse on it yet, because we could still have things happen. But this is incredibly orderly for a Martinsville race. It is still kind of close between Cologne and Dirks, and that's still for that 5th spot. In fact, I think David in the 69 is starting to see that 50 car creep a little closer in his mirrors. So there is Cologne there with the 15. He's got the pink trim. That's how you can tell him apart from his teammate in front of him in the 69.
Yeah, and just a little bit further back, it looks like the 4 of Walker is actually now trying to get on the back of Dirks.
He's keeping the pressure on. He's only about a car length behind. We ride on board with the number 4. Looking up ahead at Jan's number 45 machine. Getting close to halfway already in this first heat of the night as they plunge through 3 and 4. And see, it isn't a whole lot of banking out there. In fact, it's a pretty close to what you find at Indianapolis in terms of flatness on this track, but just a lot shorter.
Yeah, it's very, very flat, and there is no real advantage to ever running in the second lane at this place. We've seen some very, very rare moments where it's looked like it's worked okay, but especially if you end up outside of that kind of concrete strip, there's nothing up top. So it is a very, very narrow track, and the thing when you are too wide with someone is the corner exit is very, very difficult for both cars, really. Obviously, the topside car wants to get the best possible run, and they're trying to pinch the bottom car down so they don't get any run off, and vice versa. And that's why we see in real life there's obviously quite a few incidents happen coming off of 2. That wall comes up fast and kind of got that dynamic going on between the 2 lanes.
Look at the 50 still putting a lot of pressure on the 69 here. And in fact, wow, great run from him coming up to turn 1. He decides not to try and stick his nose in, but that forces an early turn in for David, and thought maybe he'd lose a little on exit because of it. Looks like he manages it fine, though.
Yeah, and he has really dropped back from the top 3 now. Bobrovsky's actually caught up to the back of Baker, but the 3 of those are staying fairly close. The 69 of Elmeritz is the one who's really opened up the gap here, and the second grouping is now bunching up with just over 10 to go.
And as we said, while yes, it's not looking like it's all that high intensity right now, if they can manage to get by that car ahead of them, that's going to improve their starting position and just give them less headache in the feature race, so they do have impetus to try and pass one another. It's going to be a risk versus reward. Do they really want to try and gamble messing up themselves and the car, trying to get that spot here? As you can see, a little bit of a lunge, I think, from Vrosky as he sends it in kind of deep into some of these corners. So I think he's flirting with the idea.
Yeah, and this is giving us a good example of kind of how difficult it is to pass around this racetrack, and why it is worth going for these spots in the heat. Just because there really is only one line around the place, so you've got to hope for a mistake from the car ahead of you. And as I said earlier, these cars are not really that difficult to get off the corner. They're fairly low power versus some of the other stock cars, so you don't have a lot of modulation at exit. As we see, actually, 33 at Baker, he's going to drop to the bottom. He's going to let Vrosky take the second spot.
Okay, well, I mean, that could be maybe championship implications there between them, and that he wants to try and get him a little bit better position for the race itself and help him in the points. But we'll go over that in a bit. I'm double checking on my points here to see if that could have an effect on it. Vrosky is chasing, but he's a long ways back. I'm not even sure if he's mathematically in it at 304 points behind.
Oh, a huge moment off of 4. The 50's gone around.
Oh. How did he do this? Did he just push a little too hard, I wonder? No, he had help. He had help. And that's going to be Jan Dirks, who also got a little bit of damage out of the deal. Let's take a look at the replay. Little bit high up the corner, just overshot it, maybe trying to push things. And Dirks thought he saw an opening maybe, and unfortunately it wound up not being there.
Yeah, and there'd been a kind of an attempt at a pass earlier in the lap, and that's why the 50 was up the track in the first place. There hadn't been any contact, but obviously the 50 having to kind of pinch it down on exit, and the 45 was running his own arc, trying to get that move done then into turn 1, and the two of them just came together. See, the 50 just makes it to pit road. That might be a speeding penalty, though, and maybe even an unsafe entry.
Yeah, that was a bit unusual. And these are some of the strangest pit entries and exits that we have in the world of oval racing. It used to be 2 pits actually here before they combined it down to a single one, and now the entry and exit are both on that backstretch because of that. But now we have that steeply curved pit lane, and very interesting entry. So he's in his spot. Well, he's trying to find his spot. Well, that was bizarre. He found it eventually, but he must have just about overshot it.
Yeah, curved pit road here is difficult if you're in those stalls that are on the curve. You know, it's kind of a bit of an advantage in a way, because you do gain a little bit being able to sort of pull off the curve early. So you gain a little bit of distance, so to speak, against cars that are kind of on the straightaway. But it is hard to see that the curvature is so sharp that you're really looking through the A post to try and figure out where your pit box is. And obviously, if it's the first time that you're coming into it in the race, it's hard to see. So I do have sympathy there with him on that one. It's not the easiest pit road in the world.
And looks like we are going to go to maybe 1 to go, or we have a... Let me double check on the green, white checker rules on this one, because I thought that the pace car was going to be coming in this time, but that is not the case. That gets us down to 2 to go. So it's going to be a very... Oh, it will be a green, white checkers. Okay, so we do have green, white checkers in the heats in this race, and they are going to double up, it appears. And thankfully for Cologne, he's able to get back out, which is a concern out here, and that might be a big talking point when we get to the feature race, is the pit stops, because these are not standard NASCAR-style quick pit stops for these cars.
Yeah, they're very slow, and obviously if you do pick up damage, it's a short pit road. It's hard to get that fixed without losing a lap.
All right, here we go. Pataska has got to get a solid 2 laps, and he can take the heat win. Green flag is out, and it's a good jump for Dallas in the 23. Vrosky is going to slot into second. David is going to try and challenge on Baker's. They go side by side out of turn 1, but it looks like Baker is not able to hold on unless he absolutely chucks it in, which he does, down into turn 3, tries to stay out of his teammate as the white flag waves for our drivers. They're going to go green to the finish, And coming around 1 and 2, once again, the battle is not over to decide the third row inside line. In fact, all three teammates are together here as now the 50 finds himself overtaking Walker and Dirks very quickly and getting back on it. But the win in the heat goes to Pataska. Vavrovsky second. Baker winds up third. Barely goes to Cologne for fourth place. But what a recovery there at the last couple laps.
Yeah, that was a nice recovery, given that at one point he was around facing the wrong way with major nose damage.
So there is your results for the first heat. That's going to be your inside line for the feature race. But we still have to decide the outside line with one less car out here in heat number 2. Mark Stevenson starts on the pole for this one. Linus Brostrom will be in second. Then it's Travis Henderson starting in P3, Josh Wolf in fourth, and Gabriel Roos fifth, and Tom Dreiling in the sixth position. Looks like they're just about already all lined up. We're just waiting on Linus to put himself out there. So we did see a few dramas, and we saw at least some troubles in holding onto the car. But what's interesting is it seemed like some drivers' pace compared to others, it was changing even over as small as 25 laps, Christian.
Yeah, no, I was actually surprised to see that because I really didn't think that would happen in such a short race. It does kind of bode well for us for the future, though, that we might have some comers and goers in the field. And I was a little surprised that Pataska wasn't able to actually pull a bigger margin than he was. So I think when we get to the future, we're probably going to have a pretty close fight, especially for the top 3 or 4.
So Stevenson going to lead them away and try and see if he can take that front row start in the feature race. From behind him, Linus going to try and challenge on that, but he's going to be starting a little bit in the marbles here as it has built up from that, both the practice, the qualifying, and now the first heat races started to see quite a bit of little black marbles that build up from the tires on the outside on that second line. That's just going to make it even harder to try and stay on the bottom for these drivers as we watch from on board Linus here on the outside of the front row.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if Linus can take advantage of that initial start and having the go on green. We saw it a little bit in the first heat with Baker, but he wasn't able to complete the pass.
Could be an advantage, but again, he's in the gunk and everything on the outside, and it doesn't seem like it's giving him good grip because that's a much better jump for the 51. In fact, Travis Henderson has the inside of the 71. He could try and make life difficult for him, and he's going to as he gets a great shot off of 2.
Yeah, to be honest, that looked like Linus was totally asleep there. He wasn't even really nose to nose with Stevenson when the green came out, and despite it being a go on the flag man for the first start, he just wasn't able to take any advantage of it. His big sweep to the bottom there has fallen into third spot.
Yeah, he knew that he had to cover that off or else he was just going to lose position after position. In fact, he's still going defensive. Did he jump something? He's got a black flag, and so does Stevenson. Did they jump the start, I wonder?
I think they probably did, actually, because it did think that Stevenson was going early in the box.
Wow. So that's probably going to put them a lap down. Linus is still past the start-finish line. Stevenson is now heading in himself. Henderson is going to lead this race. So there's our initial drama here in the second heat. You got to pay attention to the rules. Let's take a look at the initial start.
Yeah, so you can see he's inside the restart box, but the flagman waves the green pretty much at the end of the restart box. So you can see the 51 got a pretty big jump there on the 71. I think the 71's a little bit unlucky with that because he's just reacting to the 51 going early, but it is kind of control logic for the front row, so to speak. So both cars have to wait for the green.
Mark is back in. He's got another black flag. I'm willing to bet that's speeding penalty for the 51 just to make life all the more frustrating. Linus took a pit stop. Not sure why. I think it should have been just a drive-through as they carry on around. Oh, and Wolf just took the lead. We were so concerned about the penalties that we've had a change up at the top. Just went wide down into the turn 3 and 4, and Henderson had to give it up to Josh.
Yeah, I'm unsure whether that was kind of a plan swap around or whether that was kind of how to chase the car. But that is something that can happen. It's very easy to kind of drive the car in too deep, and then you're having to chase the rear end and you're having to open out the wheel right about where you don't want to, because it is all about rolling the mid-corner as best you can here.
So Josh has that position. Travis behind him is not on the attack. He's on the defense. That's Gabriel Roos in the 323 that is right on top of that rear bumper. And running the classic Texaco scheme on that car as he tries to see if he can get one over on the 24 after inheriting the lead of this race. That's a missed opportunity for the 24. I feel like he could have had this one quite easily.
Yeah, I think in terms of being able to hold on, you know, it's only 25 laps. It takes a considerable amount of time to set up a pass at Martinsville. It's not unusual to have to take 10 or more laps to make a pass. So I am a bit surprised. 323 lost ground a little bit there. It looked like it was a little bit loose entry through center. I had to chase it. Just wasn't able to get back to the throttle as early as the 24.
Yeah, now they're separating, so he's on it. Travis trying to regather himself. Now, I say, you know, a missed opportunity. He could still come back and try and beat Josh. We'll see what their pace difference is as this race carries on. This is the second of two heats. We'll decide the outside of the rows for the 200-lap feature race here for the Virginia is for Lovers 300. And so far, it's been an eventful, if not strange, second heat.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the front row both having penalties was quite a strange one, but that's, you know, just the nature of having new rules and people not being accustomed to them. But as was kind of seeing this with the top three here, I'm keeping an eye on the 24 and the 323 because it's interesting to watch that they both look like they're struggling with different issues. So the 12 is, you know, running quite well. The 24 looks like he's actually a little bit tight, and the 323 looks like he's loose. But for both cars, it's stopping them really running right down by the painted curbing in each corner, and that's a huge disadvantage because the corner radius is, you know, it's so tight here that even being a little bit up is a pretty significant time loss, and that neither of them are really rolling the corner as well as they need to be able to.
Oh, need some coaching from Christian Challenger out there maybe to get a little more speed out of some of these guys. And this is, as I keep alluding to, very late in the season. So for those who are vying for the championship, they need these good results in this race. This is round 12 out of 14. We head off to Daytona for the Classic 24, Classic 2.4 really, for the old IMSA cars. And then after that, it's off to Homestead for the finale, back with some more NASCAR style racing.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to the 2.4 at Daytona. It's been such a long time since I've had a chance to race those cars, and actually the last time the majors ran that pretty much exact race, it was the first round of the first season I competed, and it was a round I had to miss, so I never actually got the opportunity to race them in this series. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Still undecided on car, kind of always lean towards the Audi 90, but the GTP is an interesting car too.
Oh yes, I can attest to that. Been calling those races for years over in the Camel GT series on the Saturday afternoons here on GSRC. They are an absolute treat. But as we come down to 7 to go this time at the line, Josh Wolf looks mighty comfortable to me. 0.8 of a second over Travis Henderson at this stage, and his teammate not really gaining.
Yeah, and Josh isn't really looking spectacularly fast or anything, and that's not a criticism. It just looks smooth and controlled, and that's why he's able to build a bit of a gap, because he's not chasing his car. And I keep looking at the 24 and the 323, and they're suffering from opposing issues, but it's having the same effect. The 24 is not getting to the curb because it looks like he's a bit tight. The 323 is not getting to the curb because it looks like he has to keep opening the steering out. So those two, I think, have pace. They just look like they're kind of overdriving the corner entry.
Yep, and it's now down to 5 laps to go amongst them. Dryling's the other one that we haven't really shown a whole lot in this race. He's kind of putzing around in 4th right now. He's about 4 seconds behind those top 3. There you see him in the 11. So again, he knows that he's got 2 laps over Linus and Mark, so there's really no reason for him to push hard. He's going to be starting on the outside of the 4th row pretty much regardless.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing to gain for Tom here. He's just kind of rolling around, clicking the laps off.
So there's the leaders down into 3 and 4 once again to cross the line, still hovering at about 0.8 of a second over Travis Henderson. Josh Wolf not just inherited the lead, but definitely got the spot away from Travis after he made a mistake earlier for just joining us. The second heat race began with our front row getting black flag for jumping the start. Linus Brostrom and Mark Stevenson had to serve those penalties. Henderson inherited it. He then made a mistake very quickly. Josh Wolf in the 12 pounced on it and then has scampered away since then. Down to 2 laps to go now, and the 12 is looking at almost a bit of a surprise front row start here.
Yeah, I got to be honest and say I don't think he was expecting to see this. Obviously gridded up 4th, so he's back starting actually in 8th on pure qualifying time, but now he's going to be up on the front row on the outside. We just have to see if his race pace is good enough to stay there, and at the moment I would say that it looks like it probably is.
Last lap as Josh rounds the final turn. It is going to be a win in heat race number 2 for Josh Wolf. Henderson will finish 2nd. Gabriel Roos will come home in 3rd. Top 3 separated by a little over a second. Dreiling, only other one on the lead lap, in 4th. Brostrom and Stevenson have got to make up for that critical mistake. There you can see the finishing order, and this will be your outside line for the feature race, which will come up in a little bit. We're actually going to take a short break as we've got a 5-minute warm-up before we head off to the feature. We'll come back with more action in the Virginia is for Lovers 300 here on the Global Sim Racing channel.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics and engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway. I'm Joe Peak, joined by Christian Challoner for the Virginia is for Lovers 300 here at Martinsville Speedway. And we've got a bit of a chat with Mark Stevenson in the 51 after not the greatest of heat races to kick things off. Mark, wanted to get your perspective on what happened out there. Looks like you copped a bit of a penalty for jumping the start.
Yeah, I copped a couple. Copped one for jumping the start. I thought I was in the box, but I guess not. And then when I did my stop and go, I came out a little too quick. So copped another one on the way out of pit lane. Is what it is. We'll get on to the main and make our way through the field.
Well, Christian was telling us that apparently the rules had changed, and it isn't based on the box. It is based on the flagman for the initial start. Were you unaware of that?
I was. So there we go. Now I know.
Well, I'm glad we could help enlighten you. We've only got a minute or so with you before you got to head off. You're starting at a big disadvantage. I'm sure you weren't anticipating. What do you do from here?
Just be calm. There's 200 laps. It's going to be about just getting that drive off the corner so you can get your nose in for the next one. It's just going to take time. Hopefully some yellows will help me out and not catch me out. That would not be great, but we'll see how it goes. It's just going to be a nice long race. I'm looking forward to it, and if anything, it just hopefully it'll add an achievement to the challenge. I'm waiting for you've passed the field achievement to come up on iRacing or something.
Yeah, at least it's not quite as many. With fewer cars, do you anticipate fewer cautions, though? That might make life a little harder.
I think it'll be pretty clean for the first 100, but we'll see what the back 100 feels like. Fewer cars will make it better, but if the support races told us anything, that doesn't necessarily mean there will be less cautions.
All right, well, we'll let you go and let you get ready. Best of luck in the feature.
Okay, thanks, guys.
That was Mark Stevenson. And I'm a bit surprised, Christian, that he wasn't even aware of the rule itself.
Yeah, to be honest, it caught me out a little bit last night. I only spotted it because I was looking at the on-screen message, which was telling me to go on green. And I didn't know. I'd just forgotten. So, yeah, it's an easy mistake to make, but it's one of those ones where kind of the more this is used and the more people get used to it, it'll just be something that you know.
Second nature looks like we're gridding up now. Why don't we go through our starting order for today's race then? And on the pole, Dallas Pataska will kick them off with Josh Wolf to his outside, trying to keep up that pace during the race, see if he can take advantage of that extra track position. Trevor Vavrovsky will be in P3, as Henderson will start from 4th spot. After that, it'll be David Baker on the inside of row 3. Gabriel Roos will be on his outside. Cordell Colon will start from 7th. Tom Dreiling starts from P8. It'll be David Milnerowicz in the 9th spot, and Linus Brostrom out of position there in 10th from also suffering the same penalty that we saw Stevenson got. Ryan Walker starts 11th. Stevenson second to last on the field, and Jan Dirks rounds out your 13-car field here today. As for the weather, it is in the afternoon here, and while they do have lights, I'm not sure that we'll get to that late in the afternoon here in September, but it's already close to 5 p.m. virtual standard time. Even still, nice fall weather out here, Christian. It's only 75 Fahrenheit on the track.
Yeah, very nice and cool, so that'll help out with the car not feeling kind of greasy as the run goes on, and will extend out the progression of the fall off, so to speak. So if you do have kind of any handling problems, it'll actually make them a bit milder. So I don't think it's favorable for us in terms of seeing comers and goers to see the cold tracks and whatnot, but it's certainly nice to drive.
Absolutely, and as they come out of turn 4, as we said before, it is 2 pace laps, and then they'll be on their way on the feature for 200 laps around here, and they will have to do their best. Also worth mentioning, they do have a set limit on tires, 3 total that they are allowed to use, so they'll get 2 pit stops for tires essentially as they start on one of the sets. But we have heard word that some drivers made 200 laps in the international region without taking a stop, so that was a little tight on fuel. We'll see if anybody tries that here. I doubt it, but it could be a player in this as well. Pataska's waiting, and the green flag is out. He doesn't wind up jumping it, but behind him, Josh Wolf was not next to him there at the start. Not sure what was going on with that, and that might actually move him down to 3rd as Vavrovsky's going to slip into 2nd.
Yeah, that almost looked like that was kind of planned to let Vavrovsky just jump straight down into 2nd spot there, but yeah, not really sure I like that. He kind of started a row back further than he should have done.
Yeah, that really disadvantaged everybody behind him as well. Not sure if the stewards will take a look at that or not, but we'll leave that behind for the time being. Laps already ticking up as they're getting ready to start number 3. Pataska leads Wawrowski, leads Wolf, and that team is basically swamping the front of the field. You can see as looking to the inside, Roos wanted to try and get involved but couldn't get past on Cologne.
Yeah, do you think the TFR teams are going to pick up a lot of points today? I just have this feeling they might.
Oh, there was a bump into the 11. He's going to try and catch the car. And unfortunately, it looks like Linus is not able to avoid. Not a hard hit. They're both going to be able to carry on. And we'll get that going once again. Just nudged into the side of that 11. But that was started, I think, by the 45 making contact with the back of Tom.
Yeah, it did look that way, didn't it? It looked like the 45 kind of was the instigator there, and the 71 kind of ended up getting involved afterwards. Oh, actually, no. It looks like it was the 71 in the first place.
Oh, yeah. So glad we watched that replay, as Linus maybe just not anticipating the braking of those in front of him. Remember, he was much quicker in his qualifying for the heat, so he's probably out of position and still getting used to being among cars that maybe have just different lines around here. And that probably is the simplest explanation for that sort of hiccup.
Yeah, fortunately not too much damage on either car. And if there's ever a place where you want to kind of pick up damage, not that there ever is, but Martinsville is kind of the least impactful. You know, the speeds are so slow in the first place. There's not really much aero going on. So it's not too detrimental, and the impact speeds are pretty low. But the 71 is already in the box, so maybe he felt like he absolutely had to come down and fix that.
Let me see if he took his free repair here. He did not. So yeah, he just banged away a little bit on it. Ryan Walker and Tom Dreiling also pitting in. Tom makes sense, but Walker, I would think maybe just topping up on fuel or something. It was only 5.2 seconds, but surely he didn't waste that much over 4 green flag laps.
I wonder if he just thinks that he's going to be so tight on fuel to do this whole race without a stop that's the best strategy for him. If he's already in the back, why not come down, top it off, have a couple laps extra? Because, you know, that's an advantage on if a caution comes out and you're the last guy to stay out. So maybe that's what he's thinking, that if we do have green flag pit stops, that it gives him a little bit of margin to maybe sneak himself into the race lead.
That could be. Well, we're already double file. We're going to restart on lap 8 now, and it'll still be Pataska, but this time Wawrowski will start on the front. We'll see if that changes things around. Will Josh Wolf or will Wawrowski hang back and allow Josh Wolf in, or is that just that one-time thing to get Trevor into a better position? 23 has to wait for the restart zone out of the final corner. You can see it with the blue on the right-hand side. There it is. He is off. Big jump over Wawrowski. And Wawrowski is going to be able to duck down into second place. Meanwhile, looks like, a little high and wide for Cologne as he slips up into the marbles. That's going to allow the 33 of Baker to get inside of him.
Yeah, Baker's underneath him here, and it's kind of checking up the pair of him a little bit, but fortunately for the 50 of Cologne, he's got everyone else doing the same right behind, so it's not hurting him. He's trying to get in here. He's just going to get that done.
Still side-by-side racing behind them. Looks like Monarowicz is on the outside of Roos. Roos down into turn 3, chucks it in as hard as it can go, and that's going to put him into 7th position. Oh, and here comes Stevenson trying to make up for that bad starting position. He's going to get 1 and maybe 2 here.
Yeah, and you got to do this because it's so difficult to get people off the bottom. When there's an opening there, you've got to be trying to go for it. And actually, what really hurt Malmoritz here is that he just tapped the wall a little bit on the backstretch that last time by, and that really checks this car up. I'm not actually sure why that happens, but I noticed it when I was practicing as well. If you tap the wall just a little bit, it really pulls the speed down. And so if you're in a drag race with a car underneath you, that's really going to set you back and lose any possible advantage that the top line has. It looked like Dirks had a little bit of a mistake in the background there.
Yeah, he's going to get overtaken by Brostrom. We've been getting a lot of clouds here today as well. Just happening to be over the track. As you can see, blue skies elsewhere. So Linus now into 10th place. Dirk still has Dreiling underneath him. Tom going to try and see if he could take another spot away from the 45. And just in there is the 4 of Ryan Walker.
Yeah, no, up ahead of that, Stevenson has got past the 323 of Roos, and Mark was saying he was going to be patient and that, you know, it's 200 laps or whatnot. I've got to be honest and say, it doesn't look like he's been that patient right now. I mean, he did have the opportunity, and he absolutely just sent it in there and got it done, but he looks like he's really on a charge. I don't think he's been patient. Oh, it's the 323 has hit
Roos.
the wall, and another of the TFR cars out of 2 has hit the inside wall almost the exact same time.
And these, weirdly, are unrelated. That is bizarre. Let's see if we can get a replay of each. 323 mid-corner, it looks like, there into 1 and 2. So let's take a look at that first. Just broke away.
Yeah, just a huge overcorrection for him there. You could see it was kind of in a sort of a slow drift all the way to mid-corner, and he was putting wheel in to counter it, and then it just snatched and sent him straight up the track.
Oh, okay, so Henderson, if we watch him, that is the back of Josh Wolf, plowed into the outside wall, and the slow car caught him out, sent him down to the inside, blew his engine. He definitely needed a free repair for that one.
Yeah, you see Wolf, and that's kind of what I was talking about, though, with how much the wall slows the car down. You saw that with Wolf, it just completely pulled him up. And unfortunately for Henderson here, he really had nowhere to go.
So Wolf is in pit lane, I guess, because of the damage he got just clipping the wall there. So he's going to take a stop. Dreiling, Henderson, Brostrom, and Roos also came into pit lane this time by, so that sends them back in the fields. And where is Stevenson? Stevenson up to 5th from that, inheriting a couple spots from the incidents and making plenty of passes out on track with a very strange definition of patient today. But he is certainly making inroads, and we're not even a 10th of the way into this race, and he has just about negated the disadvantages he's experienced in the heat.
Yeah, and Ryan Walker coming down yet again to top the car off.
Yeah, I think that Walker maybe is just trying to see if he can play the long game here, although I was a bit surprised that he went on the attack there, trying to see if he can get a position away from, I think it was Dirks, yeah, that he was side by side with in the 45. And they're going to go double file. Boy, Walker better hurry back out here. Yeah, there he goes. Okay, he's on his way. Because they're getting ready to restart. So Pataska with Vavrovsky to his outside. I'm sure that's going to be a theme throughout this race. Baker and Cologne behind them now, having taken some positions. Green flag is out. Pataska with a pretty good jump, as it looks like Cologne is going to have to get in behind Baker and might actually be attacked by the 51 of Stevenson. In fact, man, Stevenson looking like he is in a completely different class.
Yeah, it looks like we've got another penalty on the front row there. Vavrovsky's coming down.
And Walker's got one. Walker's got a penalty for some reason. Not sure if he sped in pit lane or something happened on the start. Maybe just had, I think there is a penalty potentially for gaming the start by coming in from too far behind, and maybe that's what it thought for Walker. That is automated, as we see them battling in the mid-pack. Wow, Pataska's just off like a shot. It's 1.3 seconds, but it is now ahead of Mark Stevenson, of all people. So the 51 could be a big challenger if he's got the pace to catch up to the 23.
Yeah, I'm really unsure as to why Vavrovsky just got a penalty there. It didn't look like he did anything wrong at all to me. I think you're correct on what happened with Walker. I think it probably pinged him because he came into the restart zone too fast as 11's gone around.
And that takes one of his teammates out and just about collects the 323. That was Travis Henderson, I think, maybe. Yeah, he was the one that got turned around there. And then Dreiling was the one who initially spun at the bottom in the 11. We've seen that a couple times already here from the 11. You remember he had the spin in the heat race as well. And it was very similar to this.
Yeah, and it was similar to Roos's spin. The only difference is the 11 didn't counter it enough to go back up the track, and it's really fortunate that he didn't actually, because if he had, he'd have taken a lot more cars with him there.
Let's take one more look at it here. And wasn't even the 11 hitting him that turned around Henderson. It was his other teammate. Couldn't quite make out who that was. Wonder if we could have a little chat with Mark Stevenson, who's actually our leader now. Where's Pataska's pitting? Well, okay, let's definitely try and get a chance to talk with Mark before this this session goes back green. Mark, you are suddenly now in the lead. We're trying to figure out what is your definition of patience, because we're not that far into the race and you're already at the top.
It just, hey, the seas are parting, so I'm sticking my nose in where I can. I'm not trying to put anybody at risk here, but at the same time, like, take the opportunities when you can. I think I touched one bumper during that 25 lap run, but so far it's just easy peasy.
Yeah, okay, so you've got the track position. That's the battle done there. But now with the other cars, the 23 coming into pit, how do you handle pit strategy from here?
I've got fuel, so I've got, lots of time to figure that out. And I'm thinking Dallas is going for, this is going to be his last pit, I think. Maybe he's just going to try to run those tires to the end, so we'll see. I'm just going to play it by ear right now.
All right, we'll let you go. Congratulations getting up to the top, and best of luck for the rest of the race.
Thanks, guys.
That was the 51 of Mark Stevenson, our in-race reporter here today, leading the field, with Baker going to be starting beside him. Looks like lights are still on, so we got another lap and a half here before we go back racing. And that put Pataska, by the way, back into 9th position now. So, yes, he could potentially get to the end of the race from here, Christian. But as we've seen, it does look like, even with the small fields, going back in the pack puts you in a bit of a danger spot.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that he elected to come down then. I think Mark's right. I think that probably is Pataska's play, that he's going to now not pit for the rest of the race, which, it's fine if you could have brought everybody with you, but we've seen it's difficult for cars to move through the pack without being involved in incidents, and Stevenson's really the only person who's been able to do it. We've seen, obviously, Linus got involved in one, Roos kind of got involved in a couple of them, and it just doesn't, you don't want to do it at a short track. Going backwards, losing track position is really, really not something that you want to be doing often.
Well, let's see if it pays off in the end. There's our doubts, but we're just up in the booth. We're not in the car. A green flag waiting to be waved. And once again, look, that TFR team just kind of hanging back on the front row. And the 51 is going to have a clear shot. So Baker and Cologne now, though, are going to be trying to decide that second row as they come down and around turn 1. They stay side by side. Dirk's doing a good job working his way forward, yet to take a pit stop, but the 45 has gone from 13th to 4th.
Yeah, Dirk's had a really nice restart there as well as the prior run, and has kind of sneaked his way into the top 5 without us really noticing.
Yeah, just hanging it out, staying out on the track, seeing if he can maybe play the long run here. The 23 is already up to 6th place. Pataska is slicing through them. Rostrom, not so much. He's still down in 8th. Might have been having a hard time ever since he got involved in that opening incident. But he's actually fighting around the outside of Travis Henderson right now. So both drivers slightly out of position based on what their raw pace implies.
Yeah, and they're actually doing a pretty good job to maintain that, especially Linus running the top side there. It looks like it's finally gone against him, but he's still able to hold and at least maintain position.
Ooh, I think he maybe caught a bit of the wall there in that 71. but he carries on as Travis on the bottom side is now being followed through by Vavrovsky behind him to the 10. Going to try and follow his teammate and get into 11th position. Oh, he almost gets into the side of the 24. Thankfully, they don't seem to have made contact, but he's going to get another spot here as he edges his teammate up the hill.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he was able to pull that off.
Watching from on board from behind them, on board the 11. And yeah, I think so. The 71 wanted to get back in it. Big defense down to the inside, but he gives a nudge. That's going to send the 24 for the second time up the hill. Travis Henderson catches it, but he loses a spot to Tom Dreiling now. Well, I'd say they are fully embracing the bump and run nature of short track racing now.
Yeah, and I think that's the first real moment of that we've seen during this race, and certainly as we get towards the end, I expect to see more of that.
Still, your leader is Stevenson, up to about a second ahead. David Baker's second. Cordell Colon is currently in third. He's been putting the pressure on that 33 for some time, but credit to that 45 of Jan Dirks. Didn't look like he was all that fast in the heat races, and has obviously gained his position by strategy mostly out here, but he's holding on to the back of our podium runners, so I think this is legitimate.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously we weren't looking out for him for pace, but now it's Dirks who's hassling Cordell for this third spot. David Baker actually been able to get away and is now stacking everybody up behind, and Pataska has not been able to move through. He's really stuck in this train now behind Wolf.
Yeah, he got a couple on the restart, and then suddenly he's discovering a brick wall in front of him in the form of the number 12 of Josh. So they fly around 3 and 4, trying to diamond it off, it looks like. Just get to the bottom, and it is a pretty good exit. He's going to stick his nose in, look for the entry into turn 1, and I think he's got the track position.
Yeah, you see that car rolls really nice. He was able to complete the pass even before he got to the corner and exit there. And I feel like Wolf could have come down there and actually cut Pataska a bit of a break by allowing him to make that move.
So Pataska into the top 5. He's about 2.5 seconds off the lead of Stevenson. That's what the big concern is, I imagine, from here. What is his pace going to be like compared to Mark, especially once he's clear of traffic, as we look back once again at the 3-2-3 as Walker's behind him going underneath Tom Dreiling, and the 11 doesn't seem to fight that too hard. I suspect he's got a pretty ill handling car.
Yeah, and Walker's really in a bind here. He's 3 laps down. Vavrovsky's 1 lap down, so you know he's not looking like he's going to race his way back onto the lead lap. He's got to hope for at least 4 more cautions in this race to get him back even within a chance, as Pataska is now actually cleared underneath Dirks.
There's another for the 23. Next up going to be the podium. In fact, he might be able to do that this very corner. The 50 isn't going to fight it. He sees him coming, and he lets him through. So, oof, that was close on the outside. I think the 45 could have a shot. Yeah, he thinks so as well. He's going to get down to the inside into turn 1, and it's all cascading backwards. Looks like Cologne gets a better exit than Josh Wolf coming off of turn 2, but still leaves an opening as Josh Wolf now vies with his teammate to try and get into 5th. Just about got it. They fly down the front stretch.
Yeah, this is exactly why you don't want to get forced off the bottom at Martinsville. You just get stuck out there, and everyone goes past as Dirks has got loose.
He catches it, but loses tons of positions, all that hard work, and he falls down to 7th. 8th, actually. That's going to be Linus. Going to maybe try and get by. He's got better momentum around the outside, side by side in front of them, as well as the 50 of Cologne is kind of the one that was involved in a lot of the start of this chaos that is just working its way down in a domino effect. David below him in the 69 machine is not giving up and making him work hard, and he's finally ahead of him into 5th.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of a lot of team play going on here, and that's why we've got quite a few breaks being cut. Obviously, you see the 50 almost pulled it up a bit there, but then it wasn't really pressed hard for that move.
Rostrom manages to find somewhere to stick his nose in, and again, Cologne cannot make the high side work for him, as many can't here at Martinsville. Oh, or maybe he will. That was a fantastic run.
Yeah, and he's going to almost be clear.
Is he chopped down? No, he's still leaving him space in there. Maybe just in self-preservation mode. We are still quite early in this race. We're only reaching the 1/4 length mark. Oh, but the car's getting loose up in the rough stuff. He hits the wall. No caution yet. He keeps it pointed forward, but he falls down to 9th.
Yeah, we've seen this a lot now with cars where they're getting into the corner. They're just kind of setting up a little bit of your entry, and they're then kind of locked into that slide a little bit. And if they're too aggressive with the counter, it really snatches and throws them at the racetrack.
You can see Pataska now ahead of David Baker. He's made his way to second place. 2.9 seconds is the gap to Stevenson. We'll watch those lap times to see if he is lessening that. We saw a little bit of side-by-side behind them. I think that was between Vavrovsky and Melnarix. It looks like they've sorted that out with... no, excuse me. That was... yeah, okay, so Vavrovsky was a lap down, so that wasn't for position on that one. Trying to get that sorted out. We'll see whether or not Lucky Dogs are on, well, pretty soon, because we just had a caution, and it was Cologne.
Yeah, and he got so unlucky with that. He had a fairly minor incident, and then right at the end, he just crushed the nose against the fence.
That was a long slide. Let's see if we can pull the replay up. He desperately wanted to catch it, and it just wasn't meant to be. Sometimes you run out of talent just as much as you run out of grip. Didn't even get touched, just was kind of... I wonder if it was the fact that he was straddling between the concrete and the tarmac there.
Yeah, it totally could have been, but yeah, no, it actually exactly was that. I mean, you see it, the slide starts happening right as he kind of gets on the brakes, and he got really unlucky with that one. I mean, he'd kind of almost come to a stop, and then the car basically drove itself back up the track and into the fence for him.
And look at that. We have a lot of cars that are coming in. Vavrovsky got the lucky dog, by the way, in the 10 car, so he's going to get back onto the lead lap. This will also allow Josh Wolf to take the lead as he does not pit in. And the highest driver to have pitted is Dallas Pataska, his second stop of the day. Now, has he taken both sets of tires? I have to go back and check to see if he took tires on that previous stop or not, because if he took them both times, he's out of tires.
Yeah, I don't think he would have done that. And
No.
Stevenson actually also came down that time, and I think that makes sense for him.
Yes. Oh, well, yeah, and I was going to say I saw him come in, and he made the exact right call because everybody else around him was coming in too. Now, he did come out behind Pataska, though. It was only 11 seconds for Dallas. So I wonder if it was a 2-tire stop maybe for Dallas and 4 tires for Mark.
I've seen that before sometimes in kind of these limited tire situations where you will alternate, lefts and rights. So it's possible that on that first stop, Pataska took lefts, and then on the second one took rights. It's just a little bit of a weird decision, really. I mean, fuel only on the first one would have made more sense.
I can confirm it was just rights on this latest stop for Pataska. Now, I'm going to try and see if I can find that first stop here and figure out if he took tires or not. Because obviously you can... No tires on that first stop, so... It was just the tires on this most recent one, and he still has 6 tires, technically, if he wants them. But that was probably some savvy strategy out of the 23 team.
Yeah, it certainly gained him some track position here.
So we'll help the car probably rotate in the corners, too, I am sure, as we go double file. We're going to restart on lap 56 of this 200-lap feature for the Virginia is for Lovers 300. And these guys are going to now try and see what they can do up at the front, with Wolf leading and Milarowicz starting to his outside. It's the first time we've seen these two filling the front row in that order. Pace car is in, have to wait for the restart zone. They're into it now, and the green flag is out pretty much immediately. Wolf is off, but it looks like David might lose second place to Henderson down beneath him. No, Henderson is slow there on the bottom, and 23 Dallas Pataska is not slow. He's got a rocket ship right now.
Yeah, really nice move to be able to slot in. Looked like Linus was trying to kind of make something happen himself. 33 has gone way up the racetrack. Baker's fallen all the way back.
Yeah, he catches it, thankfully does not wreck going way wide there. He's got the 51 of Mark Stevenson having to work his way back through once again despite pitting while everybody else did. So that lead evaporated quite quickly, and there's lots of work to do from here. We now have 12 of the 13 on the lead lap. Ryan Walker is the next one that needs a caution for him to get 2 more lucky dogs, essentially. Pataska gets underneath of Milarowicz and is now into second place. He's got Josh Wolf in front of him, and if he can overtake him, that's the lead.
Yeah, and I think he'll want to try and dispatch Wolf as quickly as possible. Being the control car on the restarts is a really big advantage at short tracks, so you want to spend as little time as possible, especially in that second spot. Second is not the place you want to be.
Yeah, those restarts going to be a nightmare if he winds up there, so he's got to hope that we don't get a caution while he's in this position. If he's got the pace to overtake on Josh Wolf, he is very much on the back bumper, immediately putting the pressure onto the 12. Does he strike fast or does he wait for an opening? He strikes fast. He's already shown himself, and he's going to absolutely chuck it into turn 3, and Josh doesn't make too big of a fuss about it. He lets him have it.
Yeah, quite a lot of give and take, sorry, going on in this race right now. We have seen a couple of incidents, but for the most part, we haven't seen any real aggressive defenses. We've seen a lot of those kind of moves that develop when you know you catch someone and they know that you've got more pace on them, and you kind of poke the nose, but you know you're not really there, and they kind of go, oh, I'll give it to you anyway, sort of thing. So that's definitely helping Pataska out right now. I don't think we're going to see that as we get to the end of the race, though.
All right, well, I see that Mark Stevenson is up to 7th so far. Ooh, Linus is now up to 4th as well, or trying to get it. Travis Henderson's on his outside as they plunge into turn 1. And there it is, 71 now into 4th place. The 45 trying to be sneaky and see if he can capitalize to overtake Henderson. No dice on that one. We're right on board with Yan now.
Yeah, Dirk's trying to get himself back in the top 5 again, and he's certainly looking like he's got a lot more pace in the feature here than he had in the heats and qualifying.
Yeah, I like seeing that. Oh, as we had a car on the wall, that's Cologne. Not sure if it's a caution. No, it is not. Slid up the track once again. This time he caught it, but it did wind up pancaking the right-hand side.
Yeah, he's not having a good day, and to be honest, he's not had a good past 2 rounds, really. We saw at Motorsport he was having a really bad time with the car as it's going around on him in 1. Well, I'm going to say that he saved that.
That was very close to that last incident. I thought we were watching a replay at first when I saw him start to lose it. It looked almost exactly like that, except he didn't flatten the right-hand side. He just tipped the right rear of the car.
Contact on exit 2. The 24 has been spun around.
Oh, and his teammate, unfortunately, coming in late, gets into it. That's Tom Dreiling. So that was Henderson. So did he have help? Yeah, he did. I think some netcode, unfortunately. The 45. And actually, I think Mark Stevenson is also going to get a piece of it. Not drastic, just some little beating and banging on the front and rear bumper. Let's take a look. This might be one that'll be best from up above if we can get a blimp up there. Here we go. And there is the 11, unfortunately just kind of coming in and unable to slow it up in time.
I'm not sure if he didn't get some help from the 4 there.
It's the initial incident. Yeah, there's the net code between them that just started the spin. And there you saw Stevenson getting hit both in front and behind before he just kind of plows on through the rest of it. He's actually coming to pit lane. I wonder if he's taking some repairs on that one. And he's taking tires. Stevenson is putting tires on it.
an interesting move, because I think he took tires on his last one, and yeah, you see the Ford just got in the back of the 11 there and turned him down into the inside.
So is the 11 going to, or is the 4 going to get a lucky dog? No, it doesn't appear that he did. Well, that's a bit of a shame. I guess the sim felt that because he had that contact, he was technically involved in that caution. So he's going to still be stuck 2 laps down from Cologne and 3 laps down from the leader. Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, that's the difficulty of really being a couple of laps down, because you have to really be very, very careful about not getting involved in any incidents when the caution does come out, because you lose that lucky dog status.
One thing I do love about the Major Series, and we often talk about it, Christian, is the variety of the styles of racing. And this one for the Euro region may not be as popular. It's not as one that you see so many drivers familiar with, and I think we're experiencing that a bit today. But at the same time, they have a mix of guys like Pataska is obviously plenty experienced. Josh Wolf, I know him from the oval side, first coming in and commentating on him. Guys such as Vavrovsky and Stevenson. So I love that there's sort of this cross-pollination, that everybody's kind of learning from one another.
Yeah, and I think the reason why you see drivers like Pataska and Wolf is because the European region lines up quite nicely as well for Americans who want to run it. Obviously, it's not necessarily the intention, but you know, the timing is quite good. It's pretty much a decision whether you want to race in the evening or whether you want to race in kind of the afternoon, and that's, I think, why we see it. And yeah, I mean, as kind of the resident European, so to speak, late models are not really known here. They're just not a thing that we know a lot about. We obviously know about top-level stock car stuff with NASCAR and whatnot, but we just don't really know too much about late models, and that's certainly contributing to why you don't see that many cars today.
All right, we got to restart on lap 72 now with Pataska back to the point once again. Wolf to his outside. This time he's going to stay up beside him a little bit better, but still slow on the gun. And Milnauerix might be able to challenge him for P2. I say watch out for the 71. It's been a long, hard slog, but he's looking at potentially creeping his way into the podium finally.
Yeah, and Linus is a very good oval racer. I know that from the past, and he just looked like he was a little bit uncomfortable with it kind of early in the race, but he's really found his feet now, and he's trying to get himself forwards. He's definitely got enough pace to contend for this. It might need a little bit of fortune on his side to really pick up the race win, but certainly he's kind of in the top 5 of the drivers that I expect to contend for it.
Vavrovsky on Baker there, and that side-by-side in the mid-pack. Looks like Vavrovsky's going to have the advantage down the front stretch into turn 1 and finishes the job. Almost, oh no! Did the 45 get touched? He's going to spin. Amazingly, nobody else hits him.
Nobody else hit him, but there was some concertina going on. Stevenson got in the back of somebody else there.
So I think there was contact. Dirks had Vavrovsky coming in very hot into the corner, just glanced him, and that was enough. These guys are on a knife edge out here, it looks like.
Yeah, and the car is kind of like that. You know, it's as I was saying earlier on, that the way to get pace is to just have so much roll through the center of the corner, but it does mean that as soon as you get touched even a little bit, it's probably going to go around, as we saw there with Dirks.
So Dirks is coming into pit lane because of that. So is Travis Henderson, but I don't see anybody else joining them. They're all going to stay out since we had some recent pit stops on this one. That's going to give us another chance to take a quick break here at Martinsville. Don't go away. The Global Sim Racing Channel will bring you more of the Euro Majors region.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike. My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway. Round 12 of the majors sees Dallas Pataska leading us back to green. Another couple quick cautions, unfortunately, happening, which is typical here for Martinsville. And we'll see if Dallas can get them on a green flag run this time, restarting on lap 80. Green flag is out, and it's a pretty good jump. Wolf on the outside there, the front row sees Melnarix trying to see if he can get to the inside. And he is going to be able to get a pretty decent jump off of there. So Josh Wolf has got his work cut out for him if he wants to try and hold on to P2, and he sees Dallas Pataska already disappearing in the distance.
Yeah, it's still 2 by 2 all the way back. Stevenson's managed to get single file. He's the first car about sat there in that 6th spot.
Ooh, great job by Wolf round the outside. He will get P2 back from David. Meanwhile, Vravoski is trying to fight off Linus Brostrom there in the 71. Linus has been trying so hard to get back up into the top 3 and has been just around the edges of it for much of the race, but can't seem to get there. A little bit of a wiggle behind him from the 51. Thought maybe he could get involved, but no such luck. Back to single file, everybody goes.
Yeah, it's single file the entire way through the field. Linus is up the track there. Stevenson's going to be underneath him in a 1.
Boys, Stevenson finally bringing out the aggressiveness now that we're getting close to the halfway mark, and he wants to try and get by Linus there. He knows that that's a fast driver, compromises his exit. Now the 33 of Baker is close behind him. We watch with the onboard of Mark Stevenson.
Yeah, and the 51's not looking really as stuck down as it did earlier in the race. I wonder if that's just Mark a little bit upset about kind of picking up that damage, because he's really been involved in 2 incidents that worked out a lot worse for him than they could have done. You know, we've seen other drivers kind of be involved in a little bit of front to rear contact and get away with it, but Stevenson's had his car kind of crushed in twice now.
Yeah, we've had 5 of our drivers so far in the 13-car field take their spare cars. So we'll go through those in a minute. But if they get another major incident, then they're either going to be DNFs or they're going to have to spend a lot of time sitting in pit lane waiting for repairs to take place. So could see a few of them drive a little bit safer than we did before, just because they probably want to try and use this instance of a smaller field to get some good points today.
Yeah, that's the other thing, and there's obviously not too many cars, so it's pretty easy to pick up a lot of points as long as you finish inside the top 10. But then it's also learned to kind of get, you know, one more, 2 more positions and whatnot, because of the fact there aren't that many cars, and you might be running higher than you used to.
Yeah, how many of them have not had a top 5 in their stats so far this season that see an opportunity to do so as they come off of 4 once again. Boy, very close racing here from 3rd on down to 6th place. So that is Melnarix, Vravoski, Vrostrom, and Stevenson in this little train that's forming.
33 of Baker has obviously slipped back a little bit from his starting spot, but he's got Roos for company, and it looks like the pair of them might be closing up a little bit now.
Yeah. Roos, I was kind of surprised. He looked very strong at the start, too, so I thought that he would be doing a little bit better. But he is one of the ones that had to take his free repair and get back out there. So maybe we'll see more speed from him now that he's got a fresh car underneath him. As we watch the likes of third on down chase Josh Wolf. Josh has not been able to regain on Pataska since he lost that time fighting with his teammate. It stayed at about 2 seconds. There you see the gap. That made such a big difference in the complexion of this green flag run.
Yeah, and so normally kind of my rough estimate for the big mile and a halves is that it will take about 10 laps to gain a second. Now, at Martinsville, obviously, it's even harder to do that. So a 2 second gap, even with a quite sizable pace advantage, it's more like it's going to take you 40 laps to run that down if you can. So obviously a lot of work for Wolf to do if he can close this up. And at the moment, it actually looks like he's going against him. It went from 2.2 to 2.4 that last lap for the gap between himself and Pataska.
It's going to be a hard row to hoe, unfortunately. So maybe Josh should save his stuff from here. Think about potential yellows down the line and see if he could pull a blinder with some fresh tires potentially, or just regain that track position, because that's the thing. Pataska is running away, but a yellow erases this lead. So I don't think he wants to push this too hard. I'm not sure that we're going to see him absolutely dash off into the distance, but obviously he wants to keep that buffer as well. So it's a balancing game for that 23. Now we're starting to see a little bit of action in this group as there was a poke to the
Stevenson
inside.
Up the racetrack in two. He had one of those big snaps and it went away from him. The 33 of Baker has passed him now.
Oof, that was not good. That cost him. He's now down. And I'm looking at it. Stevenson has used his spare car as well. So that's, oof. He really can't afford any other big incidents.
Yeah, and he is carrying a little bit of damage on the nose after that last caution. And up ahead, we have got some side-by-side going on, the two TFR cars.
That's going to be Vavrovsky to the inside of Milnarowicz. So I saw that earlier where he was starting to kind of show that he wanted to get by. And again, I agree with you. That's team effort stuff. Oh, wow, the 71 sideways off the corner. He thought he could also go through, and David said, no, you don't.
Yeah, fairly robust defense there, but I do think Linus was being a little bit opportunistic, trying to sneak in whilst that pass was happening between teammates.
Couple more laps and we are officially halfway through this feature race with all 13 cars still running, but they are not all whole, that is for sure. Poor Ryan Walker's been plunging around in 2 laps down from the leaders essentially for quite some time, and is still looking for more cautions to at least get him back in the game, which is not impossible. There's still so much racing left to go, but this has been the Dallas Pataska show for the most part, maybe co-starred by Mark Stevenson, if not as dominant from the 51 so far.
Yeah, I would agree. And we're talking about Pataska not wanting to kind of burn up his own tires and whatnot, and I don't think he needs to be pushing at all at this point. In fact, if anything, I'd be trying to drive as slow as possible just to make sure that I don't have that kind of tire disadvantage. I mean, he's clearly got the race pace on everyone except perhaps Stevenson. Stevenson looked like he was the closest challenger, but now that he's got damage, I think it's swung definitely in Pataska's favor, and just seems like it'd be smart to kind of, you know, wind the pace back a bit, make sure you're not kind of under threat from yourself.
Interesting stat I just realized, and I'm not sure if maybe my timing and scoring is lying to me. Am I seeing that Milnarowicz has not pitted yet at all? That's what my timing and scoring is showing in the 69. So there you see he's on track, and he's holding his own. He's still running 4th. And Linus, who has pitted, and I'm pretty sure has taken tires, is directly behind him and having a hard time trying to get by.
Yeah, we've had so many cautions and whatnot that it really helps you if you're out there on old tires, because it equalizes everybody out a bit. You know, you drop some temperature, some pressure from your own tires, and everybody else has kind of already ran a couple of laps, and they've have kind of taken the new hotness out of their tires. So it is beneficial to kind of have those cautions when you're out there on olds, and it looks like it's working out for him. I mean, certainly in terms of fuel, it is more, the car can do easily over 150 laps on a tank, so I'm not too surprised that he's still out there.
Need a replay from Cologne this past lap. He slid up through 1 and 2 once again and fell down to last on the lead lap in 12th, but he caught it. But it's looking more and more similar. And actually, I just saw the 45 go up high through 1 and 2 as well, and he did the same thing. Surely these tires are not going off this fast. The 45 hits the wall now, drifting up. These guys are struggling.
Yeah, it's a trait of the car, to be honest, that it's driven fastest when there's a slight little slide to it on corner entry, but if you base your entire run around that, it's just difficult to drive that way the whole race, and you're kind of playing with fire. Eventually, it's gonna snap into a big enough slide that you're gonna struggle to recover it, and that's why it can kind of pay dividends to not chase that, just try and get natural roll in it. And you see it right there. It's always at entry. It starts to hang out, and then you're chasing it after that.
Wow, this has been fascinating because this is one of the longer green flag runs that we've had. There's the 45 with his incident. Great work by our director managing to find those. And we got one more, it looks like, maybe. As up the hill we go. This is cut and paste at this point. And that was for second place. Vrosky going by on Wolf. And Wolf, who we thought was going to try and chase down Pataska, has definitely not. Vrosky's now got about 4.5 seconds up to Dallas. And this track typically sees lap traffic, but today not really an issue here in the Euro Majors. But he is coming up to about half a lap behind Jan Dirks.
Yeah, and that's something I've been thinking, that obviously if you don't want to back the pace off, the other thing you can try and do is to put everybody a lap down. Because, it's the easiest way to, well, it's actually the hardest way, but it's the easiest way to make sure that if a caution does come out, you're in a situation where you can't lose. Obviously, there'll only be one car that gets the lucky dog in that position. You'll be able to come down, take tires, and even if people do get back on the lead lap, they'll have had to take the wave round. They'll be out there on old stuff. So, yeah, you can go for that play too. I think if that is what he's trying to do, he's not going to be able to do it. There's just not enough time. Pace advantage isn't there. As we see a battle happening here, Linus trying the top again. So I'm seeing this a lot with the 71. He seems truly reluctant to try and make a pass on the bottom of this racetrack, which is very weird for Martinsville, but almost every time I've seen him having a battle with someone, he's going to the top.
Yeah, not sure what he's trying to do, but he's still on the back of the 69 here. This is for 4th place, and he's pressuring him. He's been poking his nose here and there. Let's see if he does it this time. That's a pretty good run down into the turn 1, but he decides to stay in line as they flash past the iconic curbing here at Martinsville at the bottom of the track. Big defense down to the inside from the Melnarowicz. And that's going to force the 71 once again to go the long way around, and again it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's rare to see a topside pass work at Martinsville, so I am surprised he's really going for it, but I can also understand not wanting to force the issue on the bottom of the track. We've seen how you have to do it. You have to be very, very aggressive. You almost have to get into the bumper of the car ahead and check them up, and we've seen that they go around very easily when you do that, so I can understand him not wanting to try that, but if he wants this position, I don't think the top's going to get it for him.
Ooh, and he's going to go to the bottom, but there's a huge defense all the way down to the shallow line and blocking off that entry, but he has a poor exit, and that set him up. The 71, good on the gas. He gets the grip. He gets the spot.
Yeah, and you saw kind of mid-corner 71, he'd had enough of that. He did actually get into the bumper there, and I think that's what gave him the opportunity on the corner exit.
Great stuff. So Linus, P4, 2 seconds to make up to get to Josh Wolf now. see if he can catch up to him, because Josh looks like he's been struggling a bit lately as well, having given up that spot to Vavrovsky and not really gained back on him. So we'll keep an eye on the lap times of the 71 to see if he's any quicker than the 12 at this stage of the race. Definitely the longest green flag run that we have had thus far. Cars getting into their own and starting to really figure out the nature of this racing. But the 51 would probably like a caution. He would like them to bunch up because he's still stuck in 6th.
Yeah, and I think he'd like to probably get the rest of his damage fixed as well, because he hasn't looked as strong since he picked up that nose damage, and it's got to be hurting him.
Last lap was about a 10th faster for Linus over Josh, for what it's worth. See if that carries on, because one lap doesn't always mean as much when you got 200 of them to run around here. Stevenson, who had a black flag in the heat race, was sent to the back, started from 12th out of 13, and has been having to deal with the consequences of that ever since. Looks like he's going to be able to make up for one of them here as David fights him, but he's on the outside this time, and it seems like once you get that blue number 69 off to the outside, it's a lot harder for him to cling to this hope of the position. And yep, top 5 now goes to Stevenson.
Yeah, 69 had to give it up there, but he has been one of the better cars at kind of holding people off by running the top of the track. Not able to do it with Stevenson that time.
Big variance between Linus and Josh, but this time Linus going almost 0.2 slower. He crosses the line 2.7. That's back to his normal pace, and it was about a 2.734. In fact, they matched each other to the 1,000th last lap. So I think maybe they're a bit aware of the situation at this point and trying to keep up with one another.
Yeah, it certainly looks like they've kind of figured out that they're racing each other, and they're probably about to have Stevenson join that. Now, really, what would help Wolf out is if Linus and Mark started to have a battle, which I think is on the cards, to be honest.
So let's see. Last pit stop. Wow, Josh Wolf 107 laps ago. Obviously, Milnerowicz has not been in the pits at all. 72 laps ago from most of our drivers out there towards the front. So that is right now looking like the winning strategy, but we'll see when it reaches the end of 200 laps. But we have, what surprises me, is a wide variety of strategy styles going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that we do still have some cars out there that haven't stopped yet. I'm wondering if they're going to be able to get to the end. We have had numerous cautions, so it's possible if they started with a full tank, they might be able to make it.
Yeah, well, and guys like Brian Walker, who've been in to top up many times, although he's 2 laps down, so kind of a moot point on him, I suppose. In the meantime, this is the battle for the 8th position, Travis Henderson, chased by Gabriel Roos, Tom Dreiling, and then that is Walker, who is multiple laps down, so he's not involved in that technically. He's just trying to sit and wait for something to happen. Speaking of something happening, here comes Mark Stevenson, having to defend from the outside on Milnerowicz.
Yeah, Milnerowicz is able to fight back here and has now got the preferred line on the bottom. Stevenson looks like he's struggling now for drive off all of a sudden.
He's hanging tough. He's trying to make this work. Steven has much fresher tires, and I wonder if that's finally biting that 69 car. Not enough, apparently. He will rebuff him. Now David Baker could have gotten involved, but couldn't quite get inside the 51. Trying to square off the corner, trying to see if he can get underneath him. That's going to be the key for Mark Stevenson in this fight. You can see the banged up grille as he has been in the wars and then some, but he loses traction off of 2.
Yeah, this has got to be frustrating for Stevenson because he'd already passed, got this position done on Milnerowicz, and he was going after Linus, and now he's back here in this fight, and it almost looks like it's actually starting to move more against him the longer the run goes on.
Oh, and a slip up makes him have to dodge to the outside, so the 33 is going to now get that desired inside line, or he thought he was. Great entry for the 51, actually almost getting in the back of the 69 car, and they stay running. So there is some fascinating attack and defense happening amongst this trio.
Yeah, and Stevenson knows how important it is to not get stuck on the top side of the track. He does not want to be losing another spot here, and I'm actually just keeping an eye on this group as a whole because it's really starting to compress up from a Melneritz all the way back to Jan Dirks. And the thing for me is that Pataska is now not far off lapping them. He's just put the first car other than Walker a lap down. Cordell Colon's gone one down. So this is actually really disastrous for Walker because the more Pataska starts moving through this line, the less and less a chance he's going to have of getting back in this race.
Which is a real shame because I wanted to see how that strategy of his was going to play out and just kind of got bit by those penalties in the end. There you see Pataska. Now we're getting a little bit of shade once again. It is currently just about 6 p.m. virtual standard time. Sunset, by the way, is at 7:15 p.m. in the sim for this day. So we've had a lot of green flag racing for quite some time. So it looks like the 51's going to go for it, but can't quite get to the inside. So we might not get that extra hour that'll take us all the way to sunset, but if we get cautions like we did at the first half of the race, we could actually go into nighttime.
Yeah, thankfully Martinsville now has lights, so we can actually run this place at night, and you know that's super cool. I'm so glad that they did that in real life because I think there was sort of a point in time where the iconic night race sort of in terms of a NASCAR situation, we got an incident there.
Yeah, that was Stevenson touching the back of Melnerowicz, and he's going to have to catch the car as well. Barely keeps it out of the wall, does Stevenson. Baker able to get to the outside, but can't complete the pass. Now the car is loose as the 51 chucks it down to the bottom. He's not willing to give it up. That was very sudden. It's all come alight here in the battle for 5th place. Baker on the high side. There are so many marbles out there. It is an absolute minefield. Oh, and he's going to edge him up into the side of the track. I don't know if that was intentional, but things are getting rough.
Yeah, this is really slowed this group down now. This is everyone back to that 11th spot.
They're on the same straightaway as Dallas Pataska, by the way. He is caught. He can see them up ahead when he exits the corners.
Yeah, I don't think that anything that went on with any car in that was kind of, intentionally robust. I think there was just a lot of kind of mistakes. Mistakes were made to start with, and then everybody was just gathering it up from that point onwards.
So David Baker is still chasing, but he's dropped off. So the 51 got himself some clear air and is through now. Henderson is behind Baker in 7th, and it's Melnerowicz back in 8th. In fact, yeah, that now goes down to 10th with Tom Dreiling in that group. So you're right, that checked them up majorly. Henderson going a little wide off at 2.
Yeah, a little bit of swapping around going on now. Melneritz underneath Henderson.
He's going to be able to get that desired inside line as they fly into turn 1. Is he going to try and give it up to his teammates? Nope, he's not. Says, please hold on, I'm not done. I got some beef to pick with those in front of me.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of that point in the race where there is going to be no more easy passes and swap arounds given.
I'm pretty sure as well. I think we're getting close to the final quarter here in about 8 more laps. So they've got to be on it. They need a caution, honestly, or they will get lapped by Dallas Pataska. He's still gaining on them back there.
Yeah, they're in trouble here, and I think everybody in this group knows it now.
Wonder if that helped calm them down a little bit, if someone realized the situation and let everybody else know. Because, yeah, they've been single file for a moment. As they come around to complete lap 143 across the start-finish line. Haven't talked about him a while, but Linus in the 71 has basically kind of settled into his own up there in 4th. Still not on the podium, but is just kind of carrying on around and is about half a track behind Dallas Pataska currently. There he is on screen.
Yeah, second, third, and fourth is kind of a very, very relaxed place to be. Everybody's 2 seconds apart, give or take.
Yeah, they've all come very far apart from one another. Vrosky, for what it's worth, is about 7 seconds behind Pataska, which is actually about half the track behind right now, since they do 20-second laps. So it's about a third of the lap that he has lost to Dallas Pataska, who has put on a clinic and is on his way potentially to another championship. 4 wins so far this season for Dallas Pataska. It's not the most here in the Euro Majors, though. Sean Campbell currently has that at 6 wins, but has been less consistent in that RSR butt kicker car.
Yeah, and it's kind of a shame that the championship battle is fizzled out there, because it was really close between Pataska and Campbell, and now Campbell's missed 2 rounds, I think it is, and so he's even if he returns, he's going to be significantly behind the 8 ball. He's basically given 2 wins to Pataska.
Yeah, sometimes life calls, and sim racing can only take so much of your time. So we watch from on board Dallas. He's going to put Ryan Walker 3 laps down here in a moment. That's the car that you see in front of him, the number 4. And then Tom Dreiling is the last one on the lead lap, just in front of that orange machine.
Yeah, and Jan Dirks went a lap down a couple of laps ago. He washed out in 3 and 4, and Pataska just snuck underneath him.
Crosses the line. We are now down to 50 laps to go for Dallas Pataska, and is getting close to trying to lap half the field here. He's already lapped 3 of the 13. Well, 3 of the other 12, I guess you should say. And he's approaching on Ryan Walker's number 4. And yeah, okay, so great sportsmanship there by Ryan. He kind of knew his race is pretty much already ruined. It's going to be unlikely he's going to get more caution, so he just pulled out of the way.
Well, I'm kind of surprised, though, and I'm unsure as to if there's any kind of communication going on here, because the 323, the 23, and the 4 are all point scorers for the satellite team. So it's not really in Pataska's interest here to be trying to put those guys more laps down, because he's kind of hurting himself from a team points perspective. But I suppose the 323 and the 4 haven't had the greatest of races anyway, and it's not too likely that they're going to gain any more spots, no matter what happens, really.
Walker's fighting for a space in the top 10 in the pro points right now, but Chris Barrett isn't here. Cologne is, but he's one ahead of him, so I guess it really doesn't affect things, as he's the one he needs to watch out for. Josh Wolf and Dreiling are here, but Dreiling, again, not that far up. Josh Wolf is in 3rd, and I don't think there's a whole lot he can do against Josh at this point in the race. So yeah, I think ultimately it was just kind of the writing was on the wall, and Ryan figured, let's try and stay put. Meanwhile, that is another car being put a lap down. Tom Dreiling joins the likes of Dirks, Cologne, and Walker as the 23 goes by. It's going to be Gabriel Roos up next.
Yeah, and I don't want to jinx the 11 here, but I think this is one of the best runs we've seen him have so far this season.
It's certainly looking a little better than the car was earlier in the race. It was so loose. He was struggling just to keep it on the track and spinning himself out, and we haven't seen that for a moment. So top 10 possibly for Tom Dreiling as they fly down the front stretch. This is going to look like an old school NASCAR race where it's not measured by time at the checkered flag, but by number of laps.
Yeah, I think fortunately we're at least going to have a couple of people still on the lead lap. But yeah, speaking of NASCAR, that's kind of where my rambling point earlier was going about night races. So Bristol was obviously the iconic night race, but it kind of fell a little bit flat for a while because the track didn't race too good, and we had some super races at Martinsville, and I got to feel that that's what led to kind of pushing for a night Martinsville race, and I'm really glad they did it because I think it's a really great spectacle, and now we've got two pretty major top level night short track races, which are both really good.
Yeah, It gives that Saturday night short track vibe, doesn't it? When you get the lights glinting off the cars, as we see the 3 now approaching, the 323 trying to get back up to Tom Dreiling here. Actually, did Tom just get him?
He did, yeah. The 323 had a bit of a moment on the exit of 2, actually got in the fence, and the 11 of Dreiling was able to sneak underneath.
Pataska's next is going to be Milnerowitz, just in front of him, and then it's going to be Travis Henderson. Credit to Mark Stevenson. He's still on the lead lap, and he's still a ways away, but he is at the front of this group. It's going to be a bit if he does get lapped by Pataska, and I wonder if that's the goal from here, is to just try to avoid the embarrassment of finishing on the same lap as the leader.
Yeah, it's certainly possible, and I don't think that these other cars that Pataska's looking to lap here are going to make his life particularly easy. It's totally in their interest to fight him.
Yeah, so far, not seen Milnerowitz just open the door and let him through, and they don't have to. If you are new to oval racing, this isn't F1 blue flag rules. You don't have to leap out of the way of the leader. So he is fully entitled to stay put and prevent the 23 from overtaking. And in fact, look at that. He's even defending down into the corner now.
Yeah, and oh, he's actually taken a little bit of a shot there on corner exit from Pataska.
I think that was intentional.
Maybe, but yeah. So I think the difference there between, say, the Formula One situation is that it's not always that you're going to get an opportunity to get your lap back in Formula One. You know, you think not that many races are safety car interrupted, and when they are, everyone who's one down is given the opportunity to get back on the lead lap. That's not the case in these oval races.
Did you see that, though? The 23 washed up high, maybe trying to push a little bit too hard. See, I thought that the touch was intentional because I figured that defense, maybe that was a message from Dallas saying, I don't really appreciate that. I'm gonna move you out of the way if you don't go out of the way for me here soon.
Yeah, I do think it was a bit strong to, you know, kind of do that sweep down to the bottom into 3, but if he hadn't done it, Pataska was definitely going to make that move.
So he's having to catch back up now that he's lost a little bit of the racing line a couple laps ago. He's back on top of it. That would have been a bizarre turn of events if he had spun the car and brought out the yellow, lost the lead in that way. Vrosky would have been through the roof on that one, though. But 33 laps to go. What you were saying earlier, his fight isn't necessarily with these cars. I almost wonder if maybe he does need someone in his ear to say, listen, just finish this thing. You got such a monster lead.
Yeah, and I mean, he will know that. And to be honest, that's an area where Dallas significantly improved compared to where he was a few years ago, where he would kind of just always go for it no matter what. Whereas now he's much more level-headed about, you know, I'm in a good spot. I'm not gonna kind of compromise that. It was a little bit of an aggressive move there, though. Milnerowitz is not happy. He's really trying to not give this one up.
Yeah, this time, though, he can't shut the door. The 23 is there, and he is through. So, okay, finally, took quite a few laps, and Dallas Pataska is passed. I love you're talking about level head on his shoulders just as he just chucks it up the inside of a lapped car.
I know, right? It just always happens. It always happens. Same as how we talked about Stevenson, the patience, and then immediately at the beginning of the race was doing a big send on someone. But you know, it's working out for both of them. So I'm not being critical. It's just funny of how it kind of always, as soon as I say something, the immediate opposite happens.
Welcome to commentating as they come to less than 30 laps to go, and Pataska has now only got 7 cars left on the lead lap, including himself. So 6 other cars on the same lap as him. And the next one is Travis Henderson. A bit surprising that Travis is not on the pace here. The 24 looked a little bit quicker earlier on. He's not going to fight it as hard as his teammate did. He left some room at the bottom, but the 23 couldn't quite get the job done. Let's see if he does it again.
I would agree with that, and actually he's getting into the back of him a little bit there. But with the 24, I am surprised that he hasn't had more pace. But we've got to also consider that, it's the 23's actually turning him around.
And he's into the wall.
He's
in it hard. Oh, that is going to be Dallas Pataska getting decent-sized damage on the right front of the car. Vrosky manages to go through, and the engine is smoking. The engine is smoking. Pataska has to take his spare car, and he's going to have to fight through the field in less than 25 laps now.
That is disastrous for him. Initially, it looked like he just spun him around, and that was already kind of obviously not what you want to see, but now he got in the wall so hard that he's absolutely going to have to take a fast repair. The good news for him is he does have tires. The bad news is he's all the way to the tail end of the lead lap.
Wow. I mean, we always try to make sure that there's a sense of drama here. That's our job. That lap traffic, yes, it could be a problem. I never thought that with that big of a lead, he genuinely would put himself in that position and throw away what was basically a guaranteed win.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I don't think he really did, though, if I'm honest, because the 24 got in deep. You saw him have that moment in the middle of the corner. And we've seen the 23s just got so much roll through the middle. I don't think that he was trying to take advantage. I think he was just doing his normal line. I mean, you can even see a little bit the rear end of the car kicks out. And the brakes on this thing are not the greatest. We've seen it with a lot of cars unable to lock it down and stop it turning back up into the fence and whatnot. And I think that was also a contributing factor to that and why he ended up in the wall.
Okay, so the pit stops have finished while we were watching those replays, and things are interesting, shall we say. Stevenson is going to be your new leader. That obviously is a big development. That changes things, but Pataska, because of his lead, because he was able to get into pit lane so quickly and he had his spare car, he's third place. He came back out immediately. In fact, yeah, it was a 10-second stop, so he probably took right side tires, I imagine. And the 23 only has to pass 2 cars.
Only. We've seen how hard it is to pass. He does have the tires, but gonna be difficult.
Yeah, he'll have the advantage, but Stevenson, who has unfortunately been waiting for his time to come, been looking to get back up to the front like he was a little bit earlier, now has that, and he's not going to give it up easily. Vrosky probably won't either, and Pataska is going to have 2 fierce competitors ahead of him, especially since Mark is coming back after a break. We haven't talked about that a whole lot. He was away for a while. This is kind of his return. And to be able to come back on a win would be a serious stamp on his intentions here.
It really would. I think the thing that's going to go against him, though, is that damage on the car. And we know that he's been struggling with pace since he picked that up. And it's really unfortunate because if he'd have had a clean car, this would have been so much more difficult for Pataska. But Vrosky's had really good pace, too. It's entirely possible he's going to be able to win this.
This is true. But Stevenson has nothing to lose, essentially, while Pataska is fighting for a championship. Will he push him hard as they come to the restart zone? And the green flag is out. I think the 51 waited a little longer on this one. And he didn't get the greatest of jumps. So Vrosky's going to try and come around the outside a little bit. And as he tries his hardest, he actually is going to get the grip. The 51 not looking good on the restart. He's going to have to fight hard down into 3 and 4.
Yeah, in a worst possible situation for Pataska, though. He's stuck here. He might have to try a 3 wide.
Vrosky did come into the pits as well this last time under caution, and the 51 loses it. He spins it and brings the yellow out, and he gets hit hard from behind twice through turns 1 and 2. It all fell apart as quickly as it fell into his lap.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to be day over there for Mark. He's been hit quite a number of times, and Melneritz as well. Significant damage on his car.
Yeah, smoking engine for the 69, and he hasn't taken his spare car, so he should be able to come in and be able to try and finish this race. Just drove it in deep, it looks like.
Yeah, same thing that we've seen throughout the day here is that people are just looping it around, driving it in a little deep. And the rear end steps out, and to be honest, he made a good decision to just kind of lock it down and let it sort of stop on the bottom of the track. I know it didn't really work out for him, but if he'd have hooked that back up the racetrack, he'd have taken at least another 3 or 4 cars.
Well, this does force who was it? It was Malero. Yeah, the 69 into pit lane. So he had to eventually take a stop in the end. Drylene's in there. Looks like Jan Dirks, because he was involved in that incident, is also in. Vavrovsky will now restart on the pole, and Pataska will start to the outside of him. Now, as I picked up earlier and mentioned, he is theoretically on the same tire strategy as Pataska. Let me double check to see if he did take tires on that, because that will affect things. If he didn't take tires, then it's going to be advantage to Dallas.
Yeah, I would agree, but if they are on equal, obviously Pataska...
He took tires. Okay.
It's gonna be hard for him then.
Oof. Wow. Savvy move from the 10 on that one to come in, take those tires, and still wind up within the top 3, and now inherit the lead to see if he can pull a blinder on Dallas Pataska. Vavrovsky started this race in 3rd. It's going to have to hold him off for a number of laps. Don't forget, we also have green-white checkers available if we get some more cautions with very few laps to go. And it looks like they're already eager to line up. And, well, too eager, because still the lights are on.
Yeah, and we've got a bit of a team situation here that could really help out Vavrovsky, because he's got his helper Joshua Wolf, the 12, lining up right behind him. If he can get a good enough restart that keeps him bunched up with the 12, and the 12 gets under the 23, that might give Trevor the opportunity to escape.
Well, we have a quick chance, I think. Let's chat with Mark Stevenson. He has become our first DNF, unfortunately. Mark, it sounds like you're out of stuff there and the day's over.
Yeah, I accidentally used my fast repair earlier on, so it's done. We're done.
Oh, accidental. I wondered about that. I saw that you had used it, and I thought maybe you had some damage that you had to fix. Well, it was a valiant effort. Did you just not have the tire there on that last restart?
Yeah, I honestly, I probably had the tire. I just went in a little hot. I was running into an issue in the last run where the car was getting loose mid-corner. So I was like falling back, and then I'd go ahead a bit and fall back, go ahead a bit. And I don't think I had anything for Dallas for like long run or Trevor, but you know, I may have gotten 3rd out of that if I could hold on.
Well, looks like we're going back green flag racing. Thank you for giving us your perspective today, Mark, and commiserations.
Thanks.
As Mark Stevenson, DNF here today at Martinsville, and on the restart, great run from Vavrovsky. Oh, we got a spin. That's going to be Josh Wolf. And did Pataska survive? He did. He was right next to him. Had a horrible restart there in the 23. And that one, I think, came from the 71, making that 3 wide.
It did. I understand why he did it, but Wolf's going to be really furious about that, and I think he has every right to be honest. Linus was trying to make that happen. I don't know. I don't think there was enough of a checkup there with the 23 and the 12 to warrant trying to take it through.
Yeah, that I know it's the end of the race, but that seemed overly ambitious to me. So we're going to stack up once again, and let's take another look at it here. And Linus is saying can't go tighter on the curb, so he's still, I mean, he hasn't seen the replay, but you're 3 wide, but yeah, I feel like, I think he was just too aggressive.
I mean, he's not wrong, he was there, but I don't really know where he was expecting Wolf was going to be. Like, look at that. I get it, but Pataska's not going to know that they're 3 up until the point they hit the brakes, and at that stage, you know, there's nothing that can be done anyway. So Wolf just in the worst possible spot, because he has no real room to kind of force Pataska. Pataska's not going to let you put him in the 3rd lane into turn 3. He doesn't know that Linus is there on the bottom. So yeah, I just think I understand why he made that move, but yeah, I also understand Josh's frustration.
Well, we haven't heard Josh on the radio expressing frustration over text chat. Brostrom's still saying I was there from halfway down the straight. So I think his perspective will change once he gets outside the car and can look at the replay. But right now, I think he was not aware that they were in a 3-wide situation coming down into that corner. So we'll hopefully get a chance to talk to him and see what he thinks once he's had a chance to get a better perspective. We are going to restart with less than 10 laps to go in this race after such a long green flag run there in the second half of this 200 lap event. It suddenly all gets checked up and bunched back together, where we've got Vavrovsky and Pataska both with a serious chance at the win, a very aggressive Brostrom in the 71, and then maybe a dark horse of Baker watching everybody in front of him battling and thinking I could maybe get a surprise win.
Yeah, I think the 33 is in a great spot here. At worst, he's looking at picking up a top 5, and with him, Gabriel Roos, driver who had a pretty major incident early in the race, had to take a fast repair. Didn't really look like he had much pace in the second half, and now he's here in the 5th spot.
Absolutely. So, are we still 2 laps to go here? No, we are 1 lap to go, but have they changed it to single file restarts? Interesting. Okay, so that is going to change the complexion of things, and I'm sure Vavrovsky is ecstatic that this is the case. Wonder if this is because of within 10 laps to go that they're doing the single file restarts as he comes out of the final corner. There it is. Gets a nice easy jump over the 23, but Salinas is going to show his nose and then decide against it this time. But he wanted to try and take that second place away from Dallas.
Yeah, I think the reason it goes to single file is because there was an incident on the prior 2 restarts.
Aha. Well, as they head down across to lap 194 now, Vavrovsky has that track position. Pataska's been the quickest car on the track for much of the race. There is damage on the rear of Trevor's number 10. Is that affecting him at all? It's the right rear, and you need that tire at a place like this as they come down to 6 laps to go now. Pataska looks like he's got the car underneath him. Can he get close enough to do anything?
I think he's definitely going to get close enough. It's just going to be how aggressive he's going to have to be to make this pass. Vavrovsky is going to give him absolutely no quarter, and I think it's going to have to come down to a contact pass if Pataska wants to win this race.
And Linus is starting to drop away. He can't hang with this pair. It's becoming a 2-horse race here at the end. 5 laps to go now. Pataska's within a car length of him. Will he try and use the chrome horn to make it happen? Or will Trevor be able to stay far enough away from him that won't even be an option? It's getting ever closer. They cross the line once again. It's down to only 0.2 of a second between them.
Yeah, he's going to be there. It's just how much does he want to win, and how comfortable is he with the push as the cautions come out.
Dryling, it looks like, and I see Cordell Colon as well. And Colon has blown his engine. This starts with the 11, and the 50 unfortunately lost control of the car in the process. So that's how these two wound up involved in that one. This is going to take us to a green-white checkers. Here's the 11 up first. Cut and paste. Except he just kind of slides to a halt in the middle, and oh man. 50 did the right thing, keeping low, and managed to avoid him, but then just locked up the car and was in a straight trajectory up to the wall.
Yeah, had his own incident there trying to avoid it. It looked like it was the inside curb that turned him back up the racetrack.
Definitely did. Pretty certain he's taking his spare car. That's day over. Cologne's out. He's our second DNF of the evening. And this is very little comfort, I'm sure, but the 4 car is the lucky dog here with 3 laps to go. 2 to go, really, I guess. He gets down to 2 laps again. Oh man. I almost wouldn't want to take it if I was Ryan at that point. That feels like insult to injury.
It does, but if we get consecutive green-white checkers, he's got the opportunity to get back to the lead lap.
He's still 2 laps down from the leaders, though, I think. So he needs
2 more.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get that. This is the first one, and I think, is it only 1 or do we have 3? We'll need to double check on the rules here and figure out how many of these green-white checkers we do have. I just see from race control the race will be extended for a green-white checkered finish. Does not tell us how many. We're getting information, though, that it is 2. So we'll get 1 more after this. That means that Ryan can't get back on the lead lap, but he could race, well, he could beat Cologne, essentially. Actually, no, he will beat Cologne, because Cologne is stuck in pit lane. So Walker actually is sort of a moot point here. He's going to finish 11th regardless. I'm not sure if he's aware of that, and he's probably going to take the checkered flag anyways, but we wait for the pace car to line them up and start us on our first of 2 attempts, possibly, on our green-white checkers.
Yeah, I think this will now be a double file restart again, which is actually not good for Pataska, I don't think.
No. Well, yeah, Pataska is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, really. Because if he starts in second, single file, he can't really find much of an advantage. And he's going to be almost worse off if he starts on the outside here with 2 wide. And yes, it is a double file. Also, given a correction, Walker can finish 10th if we get another DNF during this green-white checker. So there is still a chance for a top 10 for Ryan Walker, who's been the Dory Award of this race, to just keep swimming and not give up on it, despite the odds. Here we go. We're going to restart for the first attempt at a green-white checkers after a 200-lap race. Vrosky will have the top spot, looking to start it. He goes immediately. It's a very good jump. Oh no, here comes Brostrom. We know that he is going to take any advantage he can, and he gets his nose underneath, but can he get the launch off a 2?
It doesn't look like it's good enough. I think Pataska's clear. He's actually been given it.
Wow. Great run there by the 23. Now he's got basically a lap to get to the back of Vrosky and do something, but he is way far behind. It is half a second. Oh, we got a car spun, but no caution. We got to the white flag in time. Not sure who that was. I think that was Josh Wolf. Meanwhile, down to the line, Trevor Vrosky. Hardly any laps led in this race. The number 10 is going to steal the victory here today. Incredible finish to this race. Pataska's got to be wondering, how did that happen? And he parks it into the wall. He is angry with himself. Just unbelieving that he threw this race away. And Vrosky is going to take his first win of the season here in 2022 in the majors. Well done to Trevor Vrosky. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike. My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going?
Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they got into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway. We just watched round 12 in the majors. It was the Virginia is for Lovers 300. And this 200-lap event saw Trevor Vrosky take the win in spite of not being the most dominant car out there by any stretch of the imagination. Dallas Pataska was the one that we pretty much thought had this all wrapped up, was trying to lap cars and found himself into the wall and threw away a healthy lead. He came back to fight for second and finished there as Linus Broström finished in third from 10th after his heat race was compromised by a penalty. David Baker wound up fourth today as Gabriel Roos was P5. It was Jan Dirks in the sixth position as Tom Dreiling finished in seventh, and Josh Wolf did manage to finish the race despite blowing his engine, winding up in eighth position. Milnerowicz was ninth behind him. Lap down for Cologne after his engine blew with a late race wreck. Henderson, Walker, and Stevenson unfortunately not getting to see the checkered flag here today. And it looks like we have a replay of that wreck that we didn't really get to look at here. So let's take another glance and see what kicked this off, because we only got a quick look at a car wrecked and saw that we were still green and carried on to the finish. So the 12 and the 50, and then, wow, a bunch of them. And somebody got DQ'd in there. Didn't quite see who that was. I think that may have been Henderson. So they disappeared into the ether, unfortunately. Well, it's, it was the 24. Blip, there he goes. Just too many incidents on that one. But his teammate, Trevor Vrosky, should give us an interesting perspective on this race. Not sure how much he thought this was even possible, that he'd wind up in victory lane. But Trevor, the stars aligned. You had the track position. You were put in place and you executed. Who would have thought that we'd be talking to you as a winner here today?
Not me. I knew I had a good car and whatnot, but you're going up against Dallas Pataska. You know, he's got, I don't know, double-digit majors wins for a reason. Just basically trying to get to second and maybe try and keep him honest, which I felt pretty confident in, in the early stages of the race. Then got the black flag, went a lap down, but got that back and then went on the long run. So just got lucky to get the track position at the end. I guess it's Martinsville.
Yeah, sometimes that's the way things go, and that number 10 car at times didn't necessarily look like it was handling all that great. I mean, only 3 sets of tires for the entirety of a 200-lap race probably had to be quite the challenge to try and sort out how to play this, especially with so many cautions plaguing it. I mean, how were you kind of working that, and were you intentionally saving that set for the end so that you could maybe plop those on in that exact situation?
I mean, you could say that. I went 175 laps on the opening set of tires. So that whole long extended, 100-lap green flag run that I think we almost had was all on the original set. I hadn't taken a new set yet. So I was trying to have some in the back pocket just in case when things came down to the end. It kind of worked out that everybody's last set of tire, like second change, was my first. So we ended up all being equal when it came down to the finish. So just, it was really all about the track position. The drop-off really plateaued.
Well, better late than never. Your first win of the season here in round 12. That kind of starts you on a bit of a high note. How are you going to feel coming over to the roadside at Daytona in the old IMSA cars?
I think it'll be a fun race, and I've been running the majors now since I think 2016 or 2017, and I've racked up a litany of second place finishes. So it's really nice to finally get a first win. So really awesome. I do feel bad for Dallas because I would have liked to have gotten the move done on the track while racing on similar sets of tires and really seen what could have happened, but wasn't the case. But I guess he's got plenty other victories to fall back on. But yeah, it's good. I look forward to the next one.
Indeed. And that's Trevor Vrosky. Anybody you want to thank that helped make this win possible?
All the guys over at Grizzly, really stepping it up, trying to maybe make a push at getting this constructors points to get interesting. But then TFR Labs, Majors Garage, and Envision are sponsors. So, and thanks to you guys. Another awesome broadcast, I'm sure. It's always nice having you guys around.
Well, thank you. That was Trevor Vavrovsky, your winner today, as Christian is now able to talk to Dallas Pataska. I'm curious what the emotions are for the 23 driver.
Well, Dallas, it looked like you had it really locked up. You had a huge advantage. You were into the part of the race where you're at the tail end of the line, lapping other cars, and just talk us through what happened there. Because from my perspective, it looked like you weren't actually trying to be aggressive with the lapped cars. It looked like you just kind of got caught up in an incident there. And then obviously the fight back, are not able to get back to the lead.
Yeah, it's probably the most unhappy I'll be with the second place finish. And I mean, you know me, I'm not one to typically drive over my head in that regard, but it comes down to if you don't have control of your car and the guy's coming up behind you 2-3 tenths a lap faster, get out of the way. But that's about all I need to say on that regard. Really proud of Gabriel and Ryan Walker both for showing up today, putting in a good effort, just a little out of their comfort zone. So to get some decent results, and hopefully I think they had fun at least. So that's what's important. And then the rest of it's, just kind of smooth sailing. So with the other top two contenders just not showing up or running into issues outside of this, didn't really have to concern too much about points. So it was just coming in here and having a good time. Car was good enough, I'd say, as you guys probably could tell. Just some unfortunate decisions by lap cars.
Well, you might not have picked up the win, but you obviously did pick up the second spot. You talked a little bit about how your main other two contenders aren't here today, and it's kind of giving you a free pass to wrap up the championship with not 2 rounds to go. Technically, you can still lose, but you've now got a much nicer run into the final 2. And next time out, the old IMSA GT cars, well, GT and GTO and GTP. Any thoughts on those? Which one are you going to be driving? How do you kind of see that race? Are you just going to be running it for fun, or are you still going to be out there trying to pick up the win?
Anytime I go out on track, I'm there to win. I'll be in the GTP for sure. Not necessarily promising anything pace-wise. They're definitely not my forte by any means. But at this point, with where the Drivers' Championship is, I'm in a really good position, like you said. So really now it's just about locking up the team championship. I'm all for the Drivers' Championship, and now that we got some team guys here with Satellite, that's definitely the goal now, to make sure we wrap that up.
Well, it's certainly looking promising. Obviously, you came into the event with a pretty big advantage in the team standings. You've got yourself with the second spot, Gabriel with the 5th, and Ryan still picking up points with that 12th spot. So, it looks like that's still on course. And before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd just like to throw it back to Gabriel and Ryan. They deserve some of the spotlight, putting in a lot of work. I know Ryan didn't get the result that he deserved, but he put in a lot of work, had some good pace, and hopefully we can get those guys some good results in these last 2 rounds.
Well, thank you for coming and chatting with us. I would say congratulations, but I know you're kind of a little upset with the second spot, but was, again, another super strong run. We knew you were there. You dominated the majority of the race. So congratulations on the strong performance, even if you didn't get to pick up the win.
Thanks, guys.
That was Dallas Pataska, second place. And after that, we've got third place, Linus Brostrom, who definitely made a show of it out there and also got into a little bit of a scuffle, it seems like. Linus, we saw that you and Josh Wolf had a little bit of disagreement on one of those late race incidents.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I can't do more than apologize. I had a bit of a run. I felt I went up the inside, and my spotter even called inside before I turned down. Obviously, I was a little bit on the inside, and I went to try to go as tight as I could. And I watched the replay, and I'm even backing off. So by the time we touch, I'm just about to not be there anymore. So just very unfortunate. Obviously, didn't want to come in here and take anyone out. That did not go very well. But so all I can do is apologize, and not the way I wanted to get third, but still had a good race overall. So.
Yeah, it's understandable and great to hear the sportsmanship there as well. But you kind of had it rough from the beginning. You have that penalty at the heat race, and that puts you at the back of the start. And we never really saw you in the podium positions until very late in the race. So, I mean, do you feel like it really did affect the whole way down?
Well, I have good speed here, and I qualified in 4th. But when he went, I mean, I know with this format on the first start, you need to go on the green. But when the leader went, I just reacted to it a little bit, and apparently that was enough to give me a drive-through. So I had to adapt my whole strategy and just try and take it easy. And trying to take it easy, I ran into somebody who braked a lot earlier than what I was expecting early on. So apologies to him as well. And from then I just had to, try and gain position through pit stops and not taking tires when everyone else did. And then towards the end of the race, it seemed like I had pace to get 3rd, coming up on Joshua there with 25 laps to go or whatever. So I think that would have been a good race for 3rd place. So, I mean, considering the setup I have compared to a lot of these guys, I think I'm really happy with 3rd, and especially considering how it started. But seeing the 2 guys in front of me and the speed they had, I don't think I would have had any possibility to get any higher than 3rd, even without that penalty in the qualifying heat. So in the end, I don't think it changed the outcome of the race for me too much, but it definitely made the race a lot more interesting for me in that regard.
That's for sure. It gave you plenty to worry about all through. Well, again, congratulations on a podium today. Anybody you want to thank that helped put you here?
First of all, of course, my team, Force Esports, and then Bright Esports, who I practiced a little bit with, and they helped me out with a good enough setup to finish 3rd. So that's a big shout out to them. And all the guys on that team, and the new guys, obviously, for putting on the show, and Mike and everyone in the organization for still doing the majors and letting me join. And then congratulations to Trevor and Dallas on good races as well.
Absolutely. So that was Linus Rostrom finishing 3rd here today, and that's going to close us out with a big thank you to the majors organizers for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And of course, again, a quick mention of our charity in this series, Stack Up. Make sure and check out a link in the description below if you want to learn more about them. They are, of course, trying to help out veterans through gaming. So very close to the hearts of a lot of people here is that one. And also a big thank you to the team today, Christian, Zach, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store that we've got listed on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race is going to be coming up in a month's time. We will be at Daytona International Speedway for the next one in the IMSA GTP and GTO cars. That's going to be the Nissan and the Audi, and those put on an incredible show. I guarantee I've covered them for years. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, but until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.